Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the stream. Tonight, as normal, we're going to be doing Sunday night card readings. As per usual, I've got my hostess with the mostess, Andy.
Hello.
I've no idea what colour dress he's got on tonight, but I'm sure he's about to tell you.
Well, tonight, right, I thought I'd take a leaf out of your book.
Right.
And I've just got a tidy little mankini on tonight.
Alright, what colour is it?
Well, it's pink with yellow spots.
Alright,
So,
we'll try and arrange to get a picture of that put up on the channel at some point, guys.
I have got plenty to pick from.
Right, the good news is it looks like Streamlabs is actually up and running okay. So Maureen, you can do your weekend bingo as normal. Everybody else can enjoy their readings. If you want a reading, just put your name in the chat and the hostess with the mostess will make a note of your name and we'll get round to you at some point. What dress you in tonight, Andy? Right.
I'm not in a dress. I'm in a mankini.
He's in a mankini tonight, Jamie. A polka dot one, by the sounds of it.
I look like a slightly slimmer Mr. Blobby. Just as crazy.
As long as you ain't doing anything dodgy with Noel Edmonds, we're all right.
No, I've got my own bets.
Well, Beck's wearing one as well.
Oh no.
Right then, go on Andy, who's the first person we're reading for?
First name on list is Jamie.
Jamie, okay. From the wrong side of the Pennines. Well, this camera just the right thing tonight, look. That's come up rather well. I'll put a bit of paper under the table so it hides most of the cables and the cards stick out better. Right, Jamie, okay. Past, present, future, final outcome. You've got a major arcana sitting in the present, so that means that's going to be an important area of your life. Really interesting reading. Right, we'll start with the past, which is your first card, which is the Five of Swords. Now, fives in any suit I always class as a balancing point. They are normally a pathway, a decision time. So to me that is saying that there's recently been a divergence in thinking. I don't think it's like beliefs or anything like that. It's just been an overall change in your outlook on life. Now, I know what's recently happened because you've told me, and I think that has played a part in what's been going on recently in the past. There's been a lot of thought going on regarding that, possibly a little bit of worry, and a feeling that maybe you're worried that people are going to be left behind, or you feel that people are leaving you behind as a result of your recent announcement. This is definitely in the past. It has been a little bit upsetting for you because I'm getting a little bit of conflict off that card, which is quite interesting. So I'm getting the impression that there's been a little bit of rearranging regarding friendships and friendship circles as well that have been going on, and I'm getting the impression, Jamie, this is extremely recent. But there's definitely been some kind of battle of wills going on combined with this change of thinking. It's not a change of belief systems or anything like that. It's definitely a change in your thinking and maybe worrying a little bit about what is to come, because there's definitely change there, but it is tinged with this little bit of conflict, which is interesting. But don't worry, because it is past. It is the card. It is the past card. So it's already happened. Right. Now coming into the future, into the present, sorry, you've now got strength. Now this is one of the major arcana cards, and this is saying that your present situation is what is most important within this reading. So things that go on now and things that are going on now are going to be the crux and the pivotal point in what goes on ahead. So it's saying it's not going to be things from the past that are affecting things, and it's not things from the future. It's definitely your present that is going to be the crux on the current path you're going down. Now you've got the strength card. Now obviously strength can be physical strength or emotional strength, and in this respect it is definitely an emotional strength thing. It's saying that you're probably in a little bit of turbulent times at the moment. Things are up and down, and your willpower and self-reliance and self-resistance are probably in a little bit of flux at the moment. Emotions are probably going up and down, but you've got an iron will there, Jamie, is what I'm getting off this card. You've got to rely, there's got to be that element of self-resilience going on, because there is a little bit of a, I wouldn't say major chaos, but there is like a little bit of a flux in both situations and emotions at the moment that are swirling around you. That is what I'm getting off that card. And it's saying that your self-reliance and self-belief are going to be tested in the present, but this is what you've got to rely on. Andy, can you type in the chat, or somebody in the chat explain to Ellie what the point system is? It's definitely, I'm definitely getting this element of self-reliance off this strength card, Jamie. There is something that's about to test you on all levels of your life, both physical and mental. So there is a big test coming, but this test involves all elements. It's not just an emotional test or a physical test, it's both. So just be aware of that. I'm not getting the impression it's anything majorly bad, but it is going to be like a little bit of maybe a dilemma or a little bit of a problem, but it's definitely nothing major, Jamie. But again, it's harping back to this self-reliance, inner strength. That is what you need to rely on at the moment. That is what is the important aspect of your life at the moment. Right, moving on to your future. Again, this is interesting because you've got the Two of Wands, Two of Batons, Two of Staves, Two of Clubs, however you want to describe them. I always call them the Two of Wands, concerning this deck. Now normally that signifies an up and down to me, or a two-way path on the physical level, but I'm not getting that off this card at the moment. What I'm getting is the bloke staring off into the distance. So what it is saying, Jamie, is there are going to be physical consequences for harping back to that strength card that you need to keep into consideration. Whatever you decide now is going to lead into the future, and it's going to have a physical impact on you. And it's one, I don't think it's going to be a decision you're only happy with regardless of which way you go, because again I'm getting the whimsical element off this card, and at some point in the future you're going to be in a situation where you're at the if only or what if stage. Again, nothing major, but definitely, definitely getting this thing that this strength is going to carry on into the future, to this point where something on the physical is going to have to be decided upon, and either way is not going to be ideal, but neither is either way going to be wholly bad. But there is going to be this this element of excuse me while I cough. There is this element of I'm not saying regret. It's more of a whimsical feel. It's an if only or definitely ifs. There's going to be an element of ifs there, and what ifs and maybe ifs. So just be aware of it. Your final outcome though, Jamie, is really good because you've got the Three of Cups. Now the Three of Cups is a card I always hate having in people's readings, because to me it means so many different things. In this case it is showing an emotional celebration, where two become three, if you know what I mean. So I think you know what that is leading on to in your final outcome. But what I'm saying is this situation is going to cement people. It's going to cement the three people involved in a big way. There's definitely this unity of three. It's definitely a positive outcome, and it's definitely on the emotional level. But it's a very interesting card, because what it is saying is, don't worry about this what if period you're going to come. It is almost saying like there's going to be that slight bit of, I wouldn't say depression, but I would say that this bit of a down feel you're going to have coming in the future, in the next couple of months. But don't worry about it, because the final outcome is showing very, very positive levels, because you've got your three of cups there, which is the emotional. But I also get this combination of three, the three involved in this emotional thing. Obviously, I know you're pregnant, Jamie, and I do think this is what this card is referring to. That this baby is going to cement things for you on an emotional level, within a tight-knit group of three people. Okay? But that's about all I'm getting off the cards at the moment, Jamie. Very interesting reading. Nothing overly negative there, and some really, really good stuff. But just be aware of things that are going on right now, like I say, because they are going to require a little bit of self-reliance there, and believing in yourself, and just having the strength to carry yourself through it. And again, like I say, it is going to lead into a little bit of a period of whimsicalness, and maybe a bit of a down feeling, but it is going to pass, because your final outcome's your three of cups. So, hope that helps, Jamie. That weren't a bad reading, that one.
Well, this is going to make things really interesting, because the boyfriend Sam would like what I'm doing.
Right, okay.
So while she's here and he'll be listening, we might as well plug this one in straight after.
Okay. So this is for Sam, is it?
Yeah.
See, now, again, this is interesting, because Sam, like Jamie, has got a sword card, which and it's one of the movement cards, because it's the page. And I always say the page and the knights always signify movement within the area of whichever suit it is. Now, the swords represent the intellectual, so again, in the recent past there has had to be a change of thinking. Obviously, we know what it relates back to, but there has definitely been a complete overhaul of thinking in the past, and it's definitely the recent past. So this is why I think it refers back to the pregnancy, Jamie and Sam. I think there's been a little bit of struggle with adjusting to the situation there, because this page, leads on to the knight, and it is, for me, it is always it's like the mini knight card, the page for me. The page in medieval times was like a knight's manservant, so it is like a watered down version of a knight for me, a page. Sometimes they represent a person, but in this respect, it's definitely a situation. So I think there's been a little bit of, maybe a little bit of difficulty in coming to terms with the news or whatever, but there's definitely been a little bit of mental turmoil recently over something that's gone on. It's alright, Jace has just messaged me. Can you just excuse me a sec?
Yep.
Sorry about this. Why you couldn't just come on here and talk, I do not know. Right, Sam, so there's definitely been a little bit of having to readjust here, and maybe it may become as a little bit of a shock. Right, now leading into the present, you've got judgment, which again is a decision card, and what that's saying to me now is that little bit of doubt, and there was definitely doubt there in the past, has now been settled, because you've got judgment. Again, funnily enough, you've got a major arcana that's dropped into your present, so to me that's saying that this connects you and Jamie. because you both got these major arcanas in exactly the same spot. But what it is saying is, because it's the Judgment card, this little bit of doubt and worry that was going on in the past has definitely now is being finalised. Judgment, the judgment's been made. I don't know whether it's already happened, but it's about to. So there's definitely definitely drawing a line under this thinking that was going on in the past. If I put it bluntly, I would say there was panic about what had happened, but now you've come to terms with it, and you know. I ain't going to say you're resigned to the situation, because that makes it sound bad, but I think, I'd say there's acceptance there in this thinking, and now is the time for things to start. Sorry, I'm reading the chat. Now is the time to move forward, because a line is about to get drawn under all the doubts and this mixed up thinking and all this. Again, it's a slight negative. It was a slight negativity thing I was getting off in, but now into the present with judgment, that is settled. It's sorting itself, so there's going to be no problems there. Yeah, can you put Maverick on the list, Andy, please? Right, yeah, now leading into the future, Sam, you've got the Ten of Cups. Now the Ten of Cups is really nice, because if you look at that picture, it shows a family, and this is definitely referring to what's coming ahead. And what I'm getting off this card is that what is going to happen regarding this pregnancy and baby is probably going to be the makings of you, because it's showing that the 10 is the last of the number cards before you go into the royals of the suit, and obviously the cups are the emotion suit. So this family is going to be the making of you, Sam, most definitely. This is going to be your settling point. This is going to be the pivotal moment coming up in the future, where when this baby arrives, it's going to be the making of you as a person. Definitely you as a person. You're going to take a lot of, I don't think you realise it at the moment, but you are going to take a lot of pleasure out of family. Okay, direct family, as in baby family type thing. So what we've got up to this point is there's been that bit of worry. You've now come to terms with what's going on. But what it's saying out of them two cards onto the third card is it's actually going to be the making of you. It's probably the best thing that could be happening for you right now, because this is the point where you find your way in life, and it is definitely going to be through family, because that is what I'm getting off that 10 there. And as you can see, you've got the couple and the two kids playing, and the couple have got their arms up in, almost enjoying happiness. And I think this is what it's saying, is this is where your joy is ultimately going to lie, even though you probably don't realise it yet. It is going to come through family and this baby. Right, your final outcome card is the Nine of Pentacles, which is quite interesting, because we've literally gone straight off the emotional side into the material side. And what it's saying to me is there's going to be stability there, because the nine's a good card. If you look, it's what that card to me is saying. It's not necessarily referring to money, but on the material level, I think it's saying count your blessings. And there's definitely a very, very positive future coming out, because this is definitely very much a card saying count your blessings. Be grateful for what you've got, reap the rewards of things that have gone on in the previous three cards. Definitely a settling down of all elements of your life, emotional, physical and material. So definitely a really nice card there, but this is more of an advisory than anything else. It is just saying, all I'm getting off this card over and over again is count your blessings and take pleasure in them, Sam. Most definitely. It's definitely saying count your blessings, and what is happening now is actually going to be a blessing in disguise for you. It is most definitely reinforcing back to that future card of the Ten of Cups. So overall, Sam, a really good reading. A really good reading. It's you've gone from niggly doubts into probably the best outcome you could have according to these cards at the moment. So I hope that helps you, Sam. Quite a good read. Quite an interesting reading, that one, Andy.
Brilliant. Okay. Next up, we've got Diane.
Okay. We'll give him a shuffle. And I'm going to randomly slide some around. I've just got the feeling I need to adjust these cards a bit. Even though I'm shuffling them, I'm just picking random ones out and shoving them in different areas in the pack. I don't know why, I've just got the feeling to do it. Right, here we go. Queen of Wands, alright, okay. Okay, Darren, no major arcana cards in this one, so basically this is quite a balanced reading all the way through. Nothing saying, you know, there's anything that you really need to focus upon, because that's where your major arcana would have dropped if you needed to. So we start off with the past, and we've got the Queen of Wands. Now the Queens are always interesting, because normally when you're reading for a woman, they tend to refer to the woman itself. When you read for a man, they tend to refer to a situation. They do occasionally refer with a woman back to a situation and link with the card it's linked to. I think this could possibly be the case this time. I don't think the Queen is even though the Queen is representing you, I think the more important elements of the card, because of the Eight of Cups, is saying this is representing more of it's a combination of a person and a situation. Now, there's been something going on recently in the past. I don't know whether it's you, but it's definitely a female within the family and friends circle. It's not somebody from the outside, but this person has been very influential and very significant in your recent past. Now, wands always represent the earth elements, and earth people are always down to earth and very grounded. So this is what, I'm glad to hear that, Jamie. This is what's really interesting about this card, is that this woman, who is very down to earth and calm, has been having some kind of, I would say, I don't like putting it like this, I would say some kind of emotional crisis is about the best way of describing it. Or they have been causing some crisis is a bit of a strong word. I don't like using the word crisis, but it was the first one that popped into my head. This woman has been experiencing, or has been the epicenter for something very emotional in the past. And but when I say in the past, I ain't going right the way back here, Diane. I would say 6-month period. But this woman has definitely been causing some kind of stir on the emotional level, because it's coming into the present. It's definitely coming into the present with the Eight of Cups. With the Eight of Cups, sorry. I don't know exactly what it is at the moment, but as I'm doing this reading, I'll try and refer back to that card, because I'm not getting much off it at the moment. Only the fact that it concerns a very... see, because the suits represent different people. Swords represent sharp-witted people. Pentacles represent very materialistic people. The wands always represent very down-to-earth, common sense people, and mother figures and guiders, that kind of person. So this person, I don't know whether it's you or whether it's somebody else, but it's definitely a female within the family circle, Diane, has in some way been at the centre of some kind of emotional incident recently. Definitely recently, within the last 6 months. And it is rippling now into your present, because your present card again is really interesting, because you've got the Eight of Cups. Now the Eight of Cups, the thing that's jumping out of that card with me at the moment is the person with his back turned to the cups, as if he's going on a journey. And to me that is saying that in the present it is time to put certain emotions to bed and walk away from them. Almost to the point I'm getting, almost like saying bury the resentment, get rid of it, get rid of this negative emotion that's around you, and walk away from it, because this is what is going to be really important for you right now. There is definitely some kind of negative emotion that you need to walk away from, or a negative situation that is affecting you emotionally, that you need to distance yourself away from in some way, Diane. The moon is in that card as well, which is always interesting, because the moon is, a lot of people don't realise, one, it signifies the supernatural, but it can also signify deception. So I would say, you know, don't be fooling yourself over things that are going on around you at the moment. Be strong in yourself, and you know, consider your own feelings at the moment, because I think your own feelings are more important than other people. This is what I'm getting off this card, is maybe you know, you're over investing emotionally in the people around you, when it's time to concentrate a little bit on yourself. And this is what I'm definitely getting off this card. It is that card is definitely referring to you, and that person walking away carrying the stave is, or the wand, is definitely you. Now the wand, I can see, you know, the wand to me always represents, you know, the physical, as in the body, rather than the material. So it's saying walk away from this situation, or turn your back on it, because it will have health significance to you otherwise. You know, it could have a negative impact on health, and it is time. Just clear it all out, turn your back on it and walk away from it. The good news is, moving into the future, you've got the Four of Pentacles. Now, although the Pentacles is the material side of things, the Four of Pentacles to me always represents perfect balance of a person, because he stands on two pentacles. He's holding a pentacle over his heart or his solar plexus, and there is a pentacle on his head. And this always says to me that there is a balancing of mind, body and spirit. This is what this card always refers to with me when it's linked, you know, connected to a Cups card. So what it is saying is, in the future you're going to reach this balance, and it's personal contentment I'm getting off this card, Diane. And it's saying, if you walk away from this situation, or you clear this negativity that's surrounding you at the moment, you are going to be a hell of a lot better for it in the future, and you're going to get peace of mind. And that is what your future card is saying, that peace of mind is coming. But it is you to get to this point in the future, you've got to get rid of that negativity and this emotional stuff now. Dump the baggage, because, you know, the personal satisfaction is coming for you, definitely, because that's what it's showing in the future. It could also signify, you know, an improvement in finances, and there is definitely a materialistic point to this card as well, because your final outcome is also a pentacle card, which is the material. Now, I always say with people, when I say the material, although the pentacles look like coins, they don't always necessarily indicate money. They just indicate material wealth generally. So there is definitely a balancing of the material side of things there, but it's saying the emotional is the most important thing that you need to deal with right now to achieve this balance. Now, your final outcome you've got there is the Seven of Pentacles. Now, this one's always a good one as well, because to me, again, it's a material card, but it's always material gain, this one. So, and this card always comes to me is reap what you sow. Hard work pays off is what this card says, and this card is, for me, is metaphorical rather than direct. It's saying that all this hard work you put in now is eventually going to pay off. Everything you do up to that point in the future where you receive that balance is going to be your big payoff, and that is the big payoff you need to work to. Again, it could in the real world it could signify an increase in wealth, but I do think this card in this respect, excuse me while I cough. No, it's nothing bad. It is definitely metaphorical, and it's saying that all your hard work, you know, you're gonna receive the fruits of all your hard work here. That your hard work is definitely going to pay off, and things again are going to turn out very positive. But again, I'm getting the feeling, Diane, that it's this present card that is really important out of all of them. It's the one that my eyes keep getting drawn back to. It's definitely this dumping of baggage now, and it's got to be now, because without getting rid of this, there's no moving on for you. And there is a positive future there if you get rid of all this emotional baggage. But like I say, your last card, you know, is metaphorical, and it is saying you are going to reap the rewards of what you do, and it's going to be a very positive outcome for you, Diane. There's definitely going to be a balancing of mind, body and spirit there, and a much better feeling of well-being within, for you personally, more so than people around your family and friends. This is definitely concerning you. You're gonna achieve this balance, and you know it's going to be a just dessert for you. So, hope that helped, Diane. There we go.
Very good.
Yeah, I like that one.
Next up, we've got Leah, if she's still in the chat.
You're welcome, Diane. I'm glad you can make relevance of it, because I do always say to people, all I can tell people is what I get off these cards. I could be telling you something that doesn't relate to you at all, but all I can tell you is what comes off these cards. I ain't going to lie to people or nothing like that, or generalise stuff, because it's easy to sit here and say things that are general to everybody. But all they do show is that a possible path that you're on now. But I'm glad you took somewhere away from it. Who's next then, Andy?
Leah, if she's still in.
Leah. All right. Well, let's see if she pops up and says she's still here.
Yeah, her name is taggable, so I reckon she will be.
Okay. That was quite interesting, that final card, because I normally get that as a literal physical thing, but that one came through as a metaphorical. Oh, Jesus. This is an interesting one. Okay, this is a really interesting one, Leah. Past, you have got the Two of Cups. Now, the Two of Cups for me always directly relates to personal relationships. Normally, like husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, boyfriend, girlfriend, that kind of thing. And I would say that this card is specifically relating to a particular relationship between you and somebody else. Oh God, I don't know whether I should do this or not. I'm gonna, sorry. Right. I'll be honest with you, really. What I am getting off this reading all the way through is there is some kind of bit of a bumpy road ahead concerning a relationship that you are currently in with somebody at the moment, but it does turn out okay at the end. But there is definitely going to be a little bit of a rocky road to happiness here. Like I say, this past card is definitely relating to a relationship, and this relationship is still, I get the impression it is still ongoing at the moment, but it has been very, very significant in the recent past. There is something going on concerning this relationship. It's definitely you and someone else. Like I say, I normally get that it's like a romantic link with the Two of Cups, but it can be a friendship or a family relationship. But there is something very, very significant about this particular relationship at the recent past that is coming into the future now, because your present card, as you can see there, is the Seven of Swords. Now, for me, the Seven of Swords always signifies that you're taking on too much mentally. If you look, the guy's juggling the Five Swords and he's looking at the other two like he wants to grasp them as well. And what I always get off this card is, this is your present now, is that this relationship is causing you a little bit of anguish in the present. So whatever's been going on in the past regarding this relationship is coming into the present now, and this is where it's going to come to a crux. The crux within this relationship is coming. Again, like I say, it is a little bit on the negative side, but it's nothing majorly bad, because the final outcome is okay. But it is all what I'm getting off these cards is there is a problem with a relationship here between you and someone else. So it's either you and your partner, you and a family member, or you and a friend. But it is extremely significant here at the moment, and it is on your mind all the while at the moment. The situation with this person, and what this card is coming as a little bit of a warning and saying, stop thinking about it so much, don't overthink it, go with your heart, because you're taking on too much on a mental level, definitely on the intellectual level. It is going to affect you too much, and you are trying to do too much with this relationship at the moment. Don't overthink it, just let things take their course at the moment, because if you overthink things, you are going to ruin things, and now is not the time to make the decision over it, right? Again, it is definitely linking back to that relationship, but I also get off this card that you are a little bit, and I know with things that are going on at the moment, you know, all people are worried, but there is definitely an element of worry surrounding you at the moment, Leah. You are definitely worrying about something that you really shouldn't be. And this is, again, this is coming as an advisory saying, don't over worry about things, because what you're worrying about is not as bad as you think it is. Okay? That is the advisory element of getting off the card, but the main element I am getting off this card is linking back to this relationship that you personally have with somebody. But again, there is this little side element to it, saying that you do generally tend to be one of these people who worries too much about things. I get the impression you probably don't let people know you do. You know, you're one of these people like I do. You know, even when I'm upset over things, I very rarely let people know until it hits the point where I blow up and shouldn't say things and do. But I get the impression that you know, there's this little bit of worry here surrounding you at the moment, and this card is saying, stop worrying. Things are not as bad as you think they are. Whatever it is you're worrying about, it will resolve itself. Right, going into the future now, you've got justice. Now, for me, justice can mean literally justice, that somebody's going to get their just desserts. But for me, with this reading, I'm getting that this relationship and this worry that's going on at the moment, the decision regarding this relationship is not to be made yet. You've got to make it in the future, because it is showing in the future. And the Justice card is a major arcana card. So this is why it's saying to me that the significant area of this reading is falling in the future, not your past and your present. But it directly relates to your past and present. So it definitely relates to this this relationship that you're having a little bit of a problem with at the moment. Now, because it's the Justice card and it's the right way up, what it is telling me is that the decision to be made is your decision and not theirs. The ball is literally in your court, and it is saying that you will make the decision, and because of your final outcome, you will make the right decision, okay? I would advise you not to be overcritical when you finally hit this point where this decision needs to be made, because sometimes they say justice is blind, and I think in this case justice does not need to be blind. You need to be sure of all your facts before you make the decision, but the decision you make will be a right one. But this card is specifically relating to you, and this is what's making this part of the reading so powerful, because normally a major arcana is significant of a situation as well as the person. But what I'm getting off this card right now is that the Justice card is relating specifically to you, rather than, it is the situation, but the element of the card is you. And it's saying that this decision you need to make, or the decisions, I will say rather than decision, the decisions you need to make regarding this relationship with this person will all be of your doing. The ball is definitely in your court, and it is up to you to lay the law down, but do not do it yet. Just let things take the course for now, stop worrying, and make your decision in a future point. Now, when I say a future point, I would say within the next 2 to 3 months is when things are going to come to a head, and then that is when you're going to get this point where you need to make this decision. And I think it'll be at the point when it happens, you'll know the time's right. Leah, you definitely will. It's not going to be something thrust on you. You'll wake up one day and then you'll suddenly think today's the day that I need to sort this problem out. Just consider all the facts before you do it, but like I say, it is your decision to make and not theirs. Now the good thing is your final outcome you've got there, excuse me, sorry, is your staves again. Now what's drawing me in this card is the two people standing under what I like to say is like a pagoda type thing. And to me that is signifying that this relationship that is signified at the beginning of your reading is also showed at the end, and because it is under the garland, it shows that this relationship is gonna last the test of time. Whatever it is that you're going through with this person at the moment, the ultimate outcome is you are going to draw back together. It's not you're not gonna. There's not going to be a breakup or a breakdown of a relationship between you and this other person. It is going to resolve itself as a result of these decisions you make, and ultimately it is probably going to pull you closer together, or at least you are going to meet. You're going to get some kind. You're going to meet in the middle, and there's going to be some kind of truce called, and this relationship is going to work out okay. It's definitely a lifetime relationship feeling I'm getting here. It's not like, you know, a friend who you've had for a few years and you may have for another couple of years. Whatever this relationship is, it is a lifetime thing. It's going to be a long-term one. But it is going to work out okay, Leah, because it's falling under, you know, that card is, that couple in the card are jumping out at me, as is the garland above them, which for me always signifies a positive outcome. So, although this relationship is going through a rocky time at the moment, it's definitely going to work out in the long run, and there's going to be happiness there, and there's going to be a settling down of things, and things are going to right themselves regarding this relationship. And that's about all I'm getting off from Leah, so I hope that helped. But very interesting reading, a little bit of negative and plenty of positive there at the end. So hope that helped. See, as you can see, Andy, they ain't all plain sailing all the while, but you know, I like them when they turn out okay at the end.
Yep.
No worries, Diane. Who's next, Andy?
Next up, we've got Karen.
Okay, Karen. Right, Karen, past, present, future, final outcome. Right, now your past is really interesting because you've got the 7 of Wands there. Now to me this card always signifies health issues or a battle with health. And I think this card actually refers to you rather than somebody close to you. Hang on. Yeah, I'm getting the impression it's you. There's been some kind of recent battle with health, or there's been some upset with health going on. Something regarding the physical playing, and I mean as in the body, has been a bit of a battle and out of balance. There has been some kind of feeling there, or there has been... You're welcome, Leah. There's definitely been some kind of imbalance recently regarding the physical body. Karen, really strange card because of what it's combined with here. Oh God, this is really odd. I think it's, you know, I don't know whether you've let people know about it, because I'm just getting this personal battle regarding the physical, and I don't think you've really told many people about it. You may have told some people, but I think this has been something you've been keeping to yourself that's been going on. But there's definitely been an imbalance here regarding health issues, Diane. Really strange card. I'm getting really strange impressions of it. Almost to the point that it's been a really bad fight for you over something. You know, I ain't even saying it's going to be niggly. You know, to me, I'm getting the impression that you personally have taken it have found it really difficult, or there's definitely been some kind of definitely major struggle here of something to do with the physical plane. Now the physical normally does relate to the body, so I would say it is health wise, but it is definitely something significant and something you've been really battling with on a personal level. Now moving into the present, this is really interesting because I'm getting the impression that whatever's been going on regarding the physical is causing you some kind of heartbreak, some real major upset here. Karen, sorry. Really, there's definitely upset coming from this thing that's gone on in the past that is now leading into the future, and there's definite heartbreak and upset there, because for me you've got the three swords are stabbing through the heart. Now the heart signifies emotions and the sword signifies the intellect, and it's like they're at odds with one another, and for me that card always signifies some kind of heartbreak. The other thing it signifies to me, and this don't reply to you, but I'll just tell you what it normally is. It can be when someone is falling out of love with somebody, or has fallen out of love with somebody for somebody else. But I don't think this element of the card actually refers to you. This refers to heartbreak rather than the loss of a relationship. There is definitely major worry surrounding you at the moment, Karen, about you personally, by you personally. As you can see, that you've got the cloudy sky and the rain's coming down, and I think it could also signify that depression of a significant level here is what's surrounding you, and these cards are really strange, Karen. I've got to be honest, because leading into your future, you've got the Five of Cups, which again is an emotional card, and what it is saying is there is going to be a period of retrospect here on the emotional level, and you need to pull yourself away from situations that you really don't need to be involved with at the moment. I think that card there that you've got is saying that you do tend to take everybody else's worries on as well, and it is time that you distanced yourself from everything and concentrated on yourself, Karen, because you're the most important person at the moment. But there is this period of almost being like an hermit and pulling away from emotional matters, and that is how you're going to heal yourself. That is the way forward for you. I know I'm going to say self-isolation. I don't mean it physically. I mean it on a mental level. Pull the emotions in. Heal yourself before you worry about everybody else, because this is showing as extremely important for you in your present and moving into the future, because there's this emotional, right the way through the cards, you've got this emotional thing. It's an emotional theme running right the way through the cards, and your future one is definitely showing you standing alone, connected with your emotions. And for me that says you need to pull in the tendrils of all the little of all the little strings of love and stuff you've got moving out to the different people surrounding you. It is time to pull them in a little bit and just concentrate on yourself in the foreseeable future, because that is the way forward for you, because this is what you need. You need to take a break from all the emotional stuff that's going on in your life, most definitely, and just withdraw within yourself. It is also coming as an advisory to say, take time for yourself, because it will affect you otherwise. Health is most definitely connected to the mind and the body. So again, it's coming as the advisory that you could become emotionally exhausted if you don't look after yourself first. Now your final outcome is quite a good one, because you've got the Queen of Swords, and the Queen in this respect is definitely relating to you, and the swords again is the intellectual aspect of life, and what it is saying again, we've got this lot with one of the previous readings, you've got this self-reliance thing, and it is saying you are one of these people, Karen, who has got a very strong sense of self-preservation and willpower. There is an amazing willpower shown in this card, and this is what you need to rely on. This is what is going to carry you through to the end, because you are most certainly your own woman, and maybe at the moment, you know, other people are making demands on you that they shouldn't be, but the final outcome is saying that you yourself will eventually reach a point where you can balance this. You can balance others' needs with your own, and this is what this reading is coming through the series of the 4 cards, is you've got to get to this point where you reach this balance between yourself and others, because this is what's the most important path you're on at the moment, is this self-balance. Time to take stock of things and think about yourself a little bit more. And I know that does sound a little bit selfish, but in this respect it's important that you do that. You've got to show a little bit of selfishness to carry you through what's going on with you at the moment. But it does all turn out okay for you, Karen, because that card shows somebody with a significant willpower, a very, very, very self-reliant person, somebody with a massive inner strength. Now, all people like to think they're strong inside, but you're one of these people who genuinely is, and this is what's going to carry you through. So I hope that helped you, Karen. That's the best I can do for you at the moment. That is what I was getting off them cards at the moment. Okay. Oh, that was another interesting one.
Very much so. Do you need to get a drink or roll a smoke or?
I'm going to roll a smoky. Do you want to have a chat a bit? Anything you want to talk about to anybody?
No.
Anybody got any questions for Andy while I just take a quick minute break?
No.
You can ask Andy anything you want.
Anything you want.
Whether he'll answer them is up to him, but you can ask him anyway. I'm just going to roll a cigarette. Yeah, they're quite funny readings when you get them type of readings, Andy, because you have to be careful what you say to people, because you can frighten them or upset them. But it was nice that you got the Queen of Swords at the end of that, because that does show a woman who's got an extreme amount of mental strength. It's definitely the female willpower card, the Queen of Swords. Always clever people are always represented by the swords.
Yeah.
Only people are always represented by the wands, and gold diggers are always represented by the pentacles, and people who are ruled by the heart are always the cups. Tracy wants to know if your man Keen is chaffing yet.
It was, so I've had to whip it off.
It was causing a whack up the crack, was it?
It was.
Well, so I'll just roll this and then I'll do the next one. Some interesting readings tonight. I like it when they vary. And I will say to people, if I ever see anything, and I rarely do see bad things, I do always check with people before I say things, do you want it as it is, or do you want me to tone it down a bit? I'm not in the habit of telling people they're going to die or loved ones are going to die, because like I say, I don't believe that what the cards tell you is fixed in stone. They are only a possible conclusion. So if ever you get card readers who tell you you're going to die or this, that and the other, just be very wary of what people tell you regarding card readings, because they're not always as they seem. Right, who's next, Andy?
Next up we've got Ellie.
Oh, it's your stalker?
It is.
Bloody hell, this card light's coming out tonight. Wonder where it's dropped out so many times. Ooh. The Magician as a final outcome. Tricky Dicky, as I like to call him.
Oh.
Right, Ellie.
I like Magician card me.
I do.
Yeah.
Tricky Dicky. Right, Ellie. This is a funny reading as well, because this is like a complete situation in a row. It is past, present, future and final outcome, but it's also like they're all very, very closely interconnected. Your past card, as you can see there, is your 9 of staves, or wands, or clubs, whatever you want to call them. And he's resting on the 9th one. Now, 9 for me is a very important number. I consider it my lucky number. So what that's saying to me is for some reason recently in the past you've been resting on your laurels a bit. You've been, how can I put this? You've been hiding your light under a bushel, so to speak, and talents that you should be using, you haven't been. You've been content to let life plod along when you shouldn't. Or almost like, he's resting on that 9th stave as if it's like, oh well, I'll just sit here and let life go by. And this is what this card is saying you shouldn't have been doing, but you have been doing in the past and in the recent past. Definitely you've had a little bit of wasted potential going on. There's things you could have been doing recently that would have been very beneficial to you, and you've chosen to take the lazy option and not bother doing them. It's not negative, it's just saying, I call it, I'm getting the kick up the arse vibe off this card, and saying that, you've been a little bit too complacent in the recent past, and maybe not been employing the talents that you possess. You haven't been using them, you've been letting things, go to waste. And the cards are showing this because it's coming up as an advisory saying, this kind of sitting back and on your laurels sort of thing needs to stop. Okay, Ellie? Right. Moving into the present, this is really interesting because you've got the Ace of Pentacles. Now what it is saying is now is the time that this change needs to be made, because the Ace of Pentacles is the beginning of a material thing, and it is saying that this past of sitting on your laurels, this period is now about to come to an end, and it's time to make use of those talents, because there is physical gain to be had here. It could even signify a change of job, or it definitely signifies an improvement in financial things, but it is definitely the start of a new pathway for you. And because it is linked back to that kick you up the arse card in the past, I would say that it is saying there is money to be made out of talents you've got. So financial things are definitely going to be on the up right now, particularly in the present. Now is when it's going to start. It's almost coming like a gift. So the cloud is, it's almost like the hand coming out the cloud represents a gift, and it's saying what you've been gifted with and what you know is now the time to make use of. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps out of this little rut you've been sitting in the past, because now is the time for you to improve your situation on the material level. And the gifts are there, you've already got them, and now is time to make use of them, and this is what the Ace of Pentacles is representing. Definitely money on this one. It is definitely money more so than material. So I would say it is either an improvement in the job situation or a change of job is looming in the present, but it is definitely going to improve you on a financial level. Quite interesting, that one. It's like I say, it's definitely linking back to that kick up the arse card. So it's saying, you know, now is the time to do it. Stop doing what you've been doing recently, Ellie, and make use of your God-given talents, as they so say. And it is saying now, in the present, now's the time to do it. Moving into your future, this is really interesting, because again, I've got this walking away from emotion with the Eight of Cups. But for me, the thing that's jumping out the most on that card is the moon, and the moon for me in that respect is showing deception, or not, when I say deception, not seeing the truths in front of you. And this is what's going to be very important for your future is, again, this is an advisory card, is you need to be careful how you proceed in the future, because not everything is as it seems. There's a little bit of a minefield to walk for you in the emotional areas of your life coming up, but it is not an overly bad thing. But it is just warning you, be careful, because not all is as it seems on the emotional level, and this is what you've got to pay attention to in the future. So although you've got this, you know, this starting of new talents on a monetary level now, it is then going to transcend into more of a deception type of thing on the emotional level. So again, it's more of an advisory or a warning than an actual prediction. But there is definitely this element of deception there, or trickery, or not seeing the truth as you should see it. The truth may be there, but you're choosing to ignore it. And it is saying, you know, just be careful, because there is this little bit of element of either deception or not seeing what's right before you in the emotional areas of your life. And again, it's saying, don't turn your back on anything that's offered in the way of emotional support on the journey that you're about to undertake, because that is the wrong thing to do. You're not seeing the truth of what's offered. Whatever these people are about to offer you on the emotional level is going to be good for you if you choose to view it that way. And it's saying that you may not, and that is why it's coming up as the advisory card. Now, your final outcome is the Magician. Now, I always love the Magician, because the Magician, like the High Priestess, is one of the supernatural cards. Again, you've got this element of trickery here, but it's trickery on your own level, and again, it's reinforcing using personal talents. So I don't know how much you're into the paranormal and stuff, Ellie, but this card normally for me signifies that there is going to be an improvement in some kind of natural paranormal talent that you've got. I don't know whether you consider yourself psychic or anything like that, or you're into crystals or reading the tea leaves or whatever, but this is showing that there is definitely going to be a building upon of what people would consider paranormal abilities and talents. And this is what's going to be important for you in the general scheme of things. There's definitely a lot to be learned here, and you know, it is also the card of sleight of hand and trickery, but it is definitely not coming through with that on this reading. It is definitely showing that there is going to be a development in some kind of paranormal or psychic talent is coming up for you that is going to be extremely significant for you. It's a talent you're aware of now, and it's a talent that you possibly use, but it's saying now is the time to work on developing it and improving it, because it is going to become a significant area of your life. The Magician is a major arcana, and it's fallen in your final outcome, which is, you know, the general outline of your of what's going on in your life at the moment. And this is why it's saying there's definitely this development coming surrounding the supernatural. Don't be frightened of it. You're definitely aware of it at the moment. It is a talent you've got, a talent you know about, but there is definitely going to be significant development with it. And it's saying now's the time to start practicing it, working with it and making use of it, because I think this links back to your present card of using talents and this financial and material improvement, Ellie. this psychic talent or supernatural talent, as I like to call them, that you have got is definitely the key for you at the moment, and now is the time to be working on it, because it is going to help you advance in the material side of things. Okay, so I hope that helped for you, Ellie. But that last card is definitely your significant one. That's where your major arcana card has fallen. So again, another nice reading. But I don't know what your talent is, Ellie, but definitely, you know, start working with it. It is definitely saying start working with it.
Very good.
Well, Louise M says the old reading is bang on. I have no idea.
Right, next up we've got Maverick.
Maverick. Okay, let me just cut these cards. So I don't know whether to do my famous right. Sorry, Maverick. Quite a nice reading, this. Right, recent past, Maverick. Sorry. You got the Five of Pentacles. Now, what I always get off that card with them two at the bottom is, although they're walking together, they are not acknowledging each other. So I'm getting the impression that in the recent past, you felt very cut off from people. I always say this is like the card that signifies loneliness. So I think in your recent past there has been a significant period of loneliness, or there's been a period where you have felt very cut off from other people. Even if you've had other people surrounding you, there's still been that sense of loneliness there. There's definitely this sense of isolation and being cut off from people, even though you've got people around you. But I'm definitely getting this loneliness type of a feeling of it. The guy with the crutches is also jumping out at me, and that always says to me that there's been some kind of, something's been holding you back. And I don't know whether it refers directly to this loneliness, that, you know, because you felt this isolation, you haven't been putting yourself out there and putting yourself forward, or as you should have been. It has definitely been some kind of, it's been like a barrier or a block to you. And I think I'm also getting the fact that sometimes you've used it as an excuse or a crutch as well. You've used this isolation as a kind of defence shield when you shouldn't have been, because all you were doing was pushing people further away rather than pulling them in. But there's definitely this feeling of isolation in the past off this card. Always get it with this card, always. Even though it's a material card, I always get the, you know, the fact that these two people are, you know, they should be helping each other, because they're walking in snow and the one's bent down and the other's on crutches, but neither of them is helping the other. And that for me is always, you know, there's people around you, but there's isolation and loneliness, and that is definitely what I'm getting here. Moving into your present, again, you've got the Four of Cups now, the Five of Cups, sorry, now the Five of Cups, because it's the 5, it's actually the centre point of the numbered cards for the emotional suit. So it's saying you're at an emotional balance here, and this isolation that you've had in the past has carried on into the future, into the present, sorry, but it's about to change because you're at the number 5. So it's saying that you've hit the pivotal balance and things are going to start to improve on the emotional level. Again, you're still feeling this little bit of cut off, and I get the impression that there's some kind of emotional frustration there as well. There's something going on the emotional level that you're holding yourself back with, because the figure's standing there head bowed, almost remorseful or contemplative. I don't know how you pronounce it in America, but that's what I'm getting, that, you know, there's still this little bit of isolation and frustration there. that the situation ain't exactly as you'd like it to be right now, but because it's the number 5, you know, it is going to improve, because you're at the balance point. The 5 is the middle card. It's also coming as an advisory to saying rely a little bit more on people in the present rather than relying on yourself all the while, because your past card is showing that you've always relied on yourself and isolated yourself from others, and now it's saying now is when this change in the balance is coming on the emotional level for you, at least, that, you know, even though you're not quite there yet, it's time to open yourself up a little bit to other people, you know, and let them in a little bit, Maverick, and you know, get a little bit of emotional support off them, because it's going to be a good thing for you. Again, I'm getting this little bit of sense of regret, but this present card, it's definitely a self-imposed type of holding back here that you need to break, and this is why you've got the 5 rather than the 6 and up. It's saying you're at a pivotal point in the emotional aspects of your life at the moment, and now is the time to start letting others in, you know, groups. And I ain't saying everybody, you know, but pull friends and family and loved ones in now. It's time to start letting them in, because now is the time when they're going to start becoming important to you. Things on the emotional level are going to be very important, and you've isolated yourself for too long. What you've done in the past has actually been negative for you rather than positive, but it's showing that in your present this is about to change with the pivot of the 5. So, you know, things are about to start looking up, but you do have to change old habits and allow people in. Moving into your future, you've got the Ace of Wands. Again, you've got a renewal card, or the start of something, and if you look at the wand on that one, it is actually budding new leaves. So it is showing that in the future, new growth is coming for you in all areas of your life, if you choose to let people in. And this is the important thing. This growth is not going to come as a result of you keeping yourself cut away from people. It is, you know, this letting of people in is going to help you grow on an emotional, physical and mental level. It is all levels, even though it's the Ace of Wands. And again, it is coming out, it's the hand coming out of the cloud, and it is almost like a gift quality. It is saying that these people around you are almost a gift here, and this is what you need to make use of at the moment. Definitely a start of new horizons and things like that, because the Ace is always signify the start of a journey in that aspect, and the Wands signify the physical, as in the body and regrowth. So health-wise, it's you know, it's showing that there's going to be a renewal there, but this regrowth, as signified by the budding wand, is on all levels, not just the physical. Maverick, it is definitely on all levels. So, you know, there's growth here, but it is definitely saying you've got to let go, you've got to drop these emotional barriers and start letting people in, you know, and start trusting people a bit more, because they are the key to you moving forward. Your final outcome is Justice, which is a nice card to have there, because it's another it's another positive card, and Justice is saying your final outcome is showing balance and decisions, and it is saying, you know, it is saying that these decisions need to be made for your own personal good, and they will be made because you've got the Justice there, and they will be a positive thing for you. Again, they say justice is blind, but it is not always. So just bear that in mind. It's also saying is maybe things from the past that you have been wrongly accused of or wrongly blamed for are definitely going to be proven to be incorrect, and you are going to get the justice that you should have got all along. There is very much this feeling I'm getting off this card, Maverick, that there are going to be wrongs that are righted, and it is very important that these wrongs get righted for you, for your own personal development, and this is what is signified by the Justice card. These wrongs are going to get righted. People have misjudged you in the past, and if you start to open up more, people are going to see the real Maverick rather than the Maverick that hid behind the barriers and the false Maverick that was put there. But there are wrongs that need to be righted, and they will be righted before people start to see this. And that's pretty much all I'm getting off them at the moment, Maverick, but definitely, an interesting reading. Definitely. But there's definitely this element of regrowth in this reading, and new things budding. But there's definitely this barrier thing at the present that needs to drop down, and it was very significant in the past. It was that was all that was jumping off that card at me, was this self-isolation and pulling away from other people. Even though you've got people around you, you weren't making use of family and friends. You were keeping them at arm's length, and you've carried it into the present. But the present is now the time that these barriers need to come down for that future regrowth to start. But like I say, with your final outcome, there is definitely going to be wrongs righted, and people are going to see the real Maverick. So, hope that helped you. That's the best I could come up with that one at the moment. How many have we got left, Andy?
We've got 2 left.
Oh, that ain't too bad.
Yeah. Next up is Kat, if she's still in chat.
He's Kat in chat.
Yeah, it seems that she is. Is she still awake? I think that's keyword.
Yeah.
Let us know if you're still here, Kat.
It might take a bit for it to go through. I don't know how long the lag is at the moment on YouTube, because it keeps varying. Should really set fire to the carpet then. And fill out my cigarette. I roll the cigarette and then I smoke it over the course of 3 readings, because while I'm talking it goes out. Doesn't look like Kat's still conscious.
Right, so after Kat won Nikki, so I've just got to Nikki's and then see if Kat pipes up.
Nikki Noo. Oh God, Nikki, you got your card again. Oh right, Nikki, you've got two major arcana here, which is interesting. One in the present and one in the final outcome. Now your final outcome one is bouncing out at me at the moment, and that is definitely a warning card or an advisory card. It is not a prediction card. Right, let's start with your past first. Right, now you know what I'm going to say to your ear in the past, because it's blatantly obvious. That one, the 7 always signifies, like I say, taking too much on mentally. In the past you have a tendency to overthink things, and you let the mental side of your life get out of control to the point that it becomes detrimental to you as a person. Okay, Nikki? I ain't going to go too much into the detail, but it is definitely saying you are one of those people who takes too much on a mental level, and it is not good for you. And this has happened recently, Nikki, and you need to learn from it. Again, this is showing me that this is more of an advisory than anything else. This is a descriptive card of what's been going on, and it is saying that there has been definitely some kind of mental exertion there to the point that it wasn't good for you. It was having negative effects, and I think that you always get this bloody card, Nikki. It jumps out. It always jumps out the deck for you. I don't know why, but and it is saying you need to start learning from it, Nikki, because this will be a recurring problem if you don't get a grip on it, and this is why it keeps coming up. This is why it keeps being referenced in the past. This card is a teacher for you and saying, you've got to stop doing this, Nikki. You've got to start to chill out and relax a bit. Now, leading into your present, it is quite interesting because the present, you've got the Hierophant. Now the Hierophant is sometimes referred to as the Pope, and it has like religious implications or advisory implications. And what it's saying to me at the moment, Nikki, is this is definitely saying that friends and family are vitally important to you at the moment, to stop you slipping back into the past card, which is your Seven of Swords. So friends and family and relationships are very significant to you at the moment, and you need to start relying on them. Be very careful of false friends, though, is what I will say, because the Hierophant always signifies true friends. So it's saying, you know, make sure you keep your true friends close, because your true friends are going to be your safety net at the moment, and you need this safety net at the moment because it's sitting in the present, because otherwise there is a danger that you're going to slip back to the past card, and this is what you don't want. So this present card is saying friends and family who are true friends and proper family are the people that you need to surround yourself with now. Take advice off the people who are close to you, because they're a good support for you at the moment, and they are most definitely a safety net. Most definitely. Otherwise you'll slip back into that Seven of Swords, and you don't want that. There is also a thing here where you are probably going to hear of something very soon that is going to be of interest to you. There is definitely a learning of knowledge here. There is something that is going to be passed on to you, because the Hierophant represents the passing on of knowledge on an advisory level. So there is something coming up for you now that you're going to learn of that is going to be very good for you. Something new for you to pursue, sort of thing. And I definitely get the impression it's all right, Kat. I'll do you next. I'll read your cards next. Sorry. There's definitely something of an advice. There's new advice or new knowledge coming. Is going to be imparted to your ear, Nikki, from a person. Okay. And you need to take it on board because it's going to be exciting and good for you, Nikki. Because again, it's going to be one of these things that's going to stop you slipping back into old habits. Now, going into your future, you've got Two of Pentacles, and again, this is a balancing thing, and it is saying you've got to start getting this balance in your life. And it's not going to happen overnight because it's sitting in your future, but it is saying you have got to learn to juggle the good with the bad to find this balance. Because you know it's saying up until this point you're swinging from one extreme to the other. You're either going right up into the good or right down into the bad, and you've got to learn to balance the good with the bad. You know, nobody likes to experience bad things in their life, but people need to experience bad things to appreciate the good. And this is what it's saying. You've got to learn to find that inner balance, Nikki, because this inner balance is extremely important for you. Okay? Because this is how you're going to learn. This is definitely how you're going to learn, is through learning to balance the positive and the negative. Because I think you've been letting the negative rule too much. And the positive, you know, you've got to learn to balance it with the positive. But don't see the negative as a bad thing, because just because it's negative doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. The negative can be one of the greatest teachers you can experience, and this is what this card is saying. Okay? But it's definitely something that's not going to happen overnight because it's sitting in your future. Now, your final card, Nikki, is the Hanged Man, and this is the one that leapt out at me when I put it down. And as I said, when I turned it over, this is definitely an advisory card. And what it's saying is, you've got to learn from these previous three cards, because otherwise you are going to end up stuck in a vicious circle where you go nowhere, because the Hanged Man is a sign of stagnation and being stuck in a rut and no progress being made. And this is coming as the advisory, and it's saying this is going to be the final outcome from you if you don't learn these lessons that these cards are telling you, that this balance is paramount for you, Nikki, because this hangman is screaming it out at the end in your final outcome. That, you know, there's going to be this vicious circle that goes on and on and on and on forevermore, unless you learn to balance positive and negative, which you're not doing at the moment. But it, you know, it is possible that you can learn it, because the two is it's like he's juggling the balance. One goes up and one goes down, but you've got to learn to get those two cards smack bang in the middle. And that last card is definitely a warning, Nikki, saying you must learn this lesson, and now is the time to learn it. But it's not something you've got to do on your own, because the Hierophant harps back to friends and family, and I say true friends and family, not acquaintances. It's definitely true friends, because the Hierophant or the Pope is always positive and good advice. It's never negative when it falls the right way around. Okay, so definitely learn the lessons, Nikki. Don't treat everything negative as a bad thing. Learn from it and move on, because otherwise you're going to be stuck doing the same things forevermore, and that is what that hangman is saying. So I hope that helps you, Nikki. But there's definitely hope for you yet, Nikki, by that reading. But you know, it is definitely saying, you know, rely on friends and family, because they are there to help. Well, if they say saw it, why did they think I wasn't here, lol? Is Cat on about that? Because we didn't get a response for like 30 seconds, Cat, so we weren't sure whether you were still here. You're welcome, Nikki. But you know, do take to heart what the card said, because there's definitely that learning of balance, you know. I didn't see till he was already... Oh, right, so there must be like really bad lag. Okay, so... Right, Cat, I'll do yours now. Here's Cat's. Oh shit, I nearly dropped them on the floor there. Right, I'm going to do a full shuffle on these then, because I've just twisted them all over the place and I don't like it when they do that. So I'm going to give them a damn good shuffle. Handy on wide awake.
There's a change.
Oh, the Knight of Swords. Oh shit. Okay, that's interesting. Oh, Cat, you got a nice one at the end. Right, Cat, you've got one major arcana there, which has fallen in the final outcome, which is pretty good, because that's signifying that, you know, the overall set reading of these cards is significant. So it's basically saying that, you know, you're in a significant phase of your life. Right, now recent past is really interesting, because you've got the Knight of Swords. Hang on, let me just take them bloody notifications off, because they're blocking my screen. Sorry guys. The Knight of Swords is intellectual battles, movements of ideas. So what I'm getting here, Cat, is recently there has been a complete run or rush of new ideas that you've been thinking about, because the knights for me, because they are on the horses and they're always galloping, they show movements in the area of whichever suit they are. And you've got the swords. We've had a lot of swords out tonight, funnily enough. So there's definitely been recently, Kat, there has been a real big rush of new ideas that have been floating around in your head, that are going to be significant to you coming up through this reading. So whatever you've been thinking about, good night, Ellie. Whatever you've been thinking about recently, Kat, as in concerns, concerning ideas and stuff. I don't think it's a belief thing. It's definitely ideas, because the swords can. Oh, now the bloody alarm goes off.
Hi there.
Shut up. It's definitely ideas I'm getting off this card, Kat. So whatever you've been thinking about, really, just keep them in your head, because they're very important. They're going to become very important, and that is why they've shown in the recent past. And by recent past, I'm talking weeks here, Kat. So something over the last few weeks has been buzzing round, or a number of things have been buzzing round in your head, and they are going to be very important coming up over the next series of months. Okay, moving on to your next card, you've got the Three of Staves, or the Three of Wands, and for some reason it's come out inverted. Now, to me, I always say that the three signifies well, obviously it's the one, so it signifies the physical, but because you're standing between the three staves, two to the one side and one to the other, I always get the impression that there is a decision to be made concerning things on the physical realm regarding health. So, but because it's upside down, it's been watered down, Kat. So what this is saying to me is, decisions now need to be made regarding your health, but whatever decisions you make now are not going to be as strong as they would have been had that card been round. So I would say this is showing decisions on minor things concerning health need to be made now. These decisions need to be made, and one of them is particularly important, and that is what is signified by the two wands to the one side and the one the other. One more than anything else is significant, but it's still not a major health thing. But I'm getting the impression that there are decisions that need to be made now, Kat, because, and this connecting back to these ideas, because your health, if you don't make these decisions, your health could get in the way of these ideas you've got, okay? But one of them is more important than the others, but none of them are major. They're all minor health niggles that you need to put to bed or get sorted before you can carry these ideas on that have been buzzing round in your head. Now, moving on into the future, you've got the Page of Cups. Now again, the Page is the first card of the royals in the suit, and the Cups is the emotional. So there is going to be it's okay, Britt, you got me now, love. So once these health niggles are out the way, Kat, things are going to progress for you, because you've got the Page, and the Page is the initial start of movement on the emotional level. So I think whatever it is these ideas are, they are going to be of an emotional nature, because they're tied back to the swords. They're going to be quite significant, because you're combining heart and head. So whatever it is, whatever these ideas you've got, the future is the time where they're going to start coming into motion, but they can't do anything until you've got that present card sorted out, which is niggly health issues. But once you've got them out the way, these things are going to start coming, and heart and head are going to be fully invested in it, and because it's the Page, it's showing that these things are going to start in the future. They're not, that it's not going to be a thing that happens overnight. Again, because it's the Page, it's a gradual starting of these ideas, but it's definitely mind and body combined, because you've got the Cup and the what's it. So you've got this thing where you're wholeheartedly going to start putting these things into action once the niggly health things are gone, but it's going to be a long-term thing, as signified by the Page. Had it have been the Knight, Sam, or the King, why do I keep saying Sam? Kat. Had it have been the Knight or the King, I would say that they would have been plans that were put into motion that could have been carried out faster. Because they are the Page, I will say they are longer term ideas that you're going to be putting into motion, but they are going to be successful. Okay? Right. Leading on to your final outcome, this is the one that is the important one because it's a major arcana. And the other thing is it's the star and it's fallen in the final outcome, and I love the star. One of the astrological cards. Now the star signifies hopes and wishes coming true, but it is also an advisory card in terms of self-control. So what it is saying is, these ideas you're putting into motion, Kat, you've got to maintain the balance, because you've got the woman is pouring the waters both back into the pool of knowledge and also onto the ground, and that is the self-control and balance issue of the star coming through. You'll also notice that there are 7 minor stars surrounding the major star, and as you know, 7 is a very significant number in magic. So these ideas you've got are definitely to do with a magical thing, Kat. And I always say that pool is the pool of knowledge, and it's personal knowledge, and you're pouring back into it, but you're also pouring onto the ground to fertilise the ground, sort of thing. You're making fertile ground, but it has got to be a balance between knowledge and the heart. So don't rush into things. Make sure this balance is here, and make sure you know exactly what you're doing before you start these endeavours, because they are certainly magical in nature, but you need to make damn sure your facts are certain before you start doing them, because there is also this element of self-control coming through with the star that says that there has got to be this balance between mind and hopes and wishes, okay, and the heart. Everything has got to be brought into perfect balance for these things to be implemented properly. And there's a danger if you go into them half-cocked or not fully conversant in what you need to do. There is a slight danger there, Kat. So just make sure you take that little bit of the warning off the star into account. But overall, very good reading, but there is definitely something to do with magic that you are about to put into motion, Kat. But you need to get your health sorted out before you can do it properly. Because if you don't, things aren't going to work out as you want them to. But you've definitely got to make sure before you endeavour on them, you are fully armed with the knowledge, and the knowledge you've got is correct. I hope that helps for you, Kat. That's what I'm getting off. And very interesting, we got an inverted card there, because I always start the deck off, with all the cards the right way around. Very interesting that present one came inverted. But it was good in a way, because it shows their minor health niggles rather than major. They weaken the meaning of the card. So there we go. I think that's all the readings out the way, innit, Andy?
Yep.
Oh, and Becky finally decides to come in and say hello. So I hope they were good for the people who got them tonight. I hope they meant something to you. We'll move on now to just a general chat. We can talk about anything and anything you want to. Is there anything you want to bring up, Andy, before we start just start putting questions and whatever you want in the chat, and we'll talk about anything or answer anything you want, be it tarot, questions about the tarot, questions about the paranormal, questions about the fae, whatever you want to ask, feel free.
Whatever it is, pop it in there.
Said the top to the So is there anything you want to talk about, Andy? Or are you going to be a bowling fart and go no?
Yeah, I think I might. It's all quiet at this side.
Good. You feeling better now you got that off your chest last night?
I am. Yes.
Good.
I am.
Well, hopefully it'll be put to bed now and sorted.
Yep.
There you go. Thank you, Jamie. It's always knackering come the end of it. So I enjoy doing them, but it's always nice at the very end to have them done, because they are quite draining. I know, for some reason, I don't know why Sam's name kept coming out all the while tonight. Perhaps I'm, I've still got Sam and a little stone in the back of my mind. That was quite a funny stream on Friday.
Yeah.
Could I just ask anybody when they're talking in chat, do not mention the current events that are going on because they have nasty effects regarding YouTube. It can end up with the stream being ended, or the stream itself being shadow banned, so people ain't aware it's going on. So I'd just ask people not to mention those particular words. Feel free to discuss it, but do not mention those particular words. Interesting bit of thing I've got to tell you. There's been an update on Jason's shoelaces, which is rather interesting. I did send Andy the pictures yesterday. It was yesterday, wasn't it, Andy?
Day before.
Day before yesterday. Jace got up the day before yesterday, and his shoes were still tied in a bow, but the lace itself had been picked into frays. Literally, they're like woven laces, but they had literally been unwoven while they were still in the bow. So we've had a little bit of a Bradley moment, Watland, that was funny. So we have had a bit of an advancement in the laces. What do you think that could signify, Andy? Because I frightened him.
yeah, as you said earlier. If it's got out to do with them stuff I brought up, then I said, didn't I, watch for it kind of untying at some point. So
yeah, but I took that you meant the knot, not the entire lace itself.
Yeah, but it might unshred the entire lot.
Yeah.
It's kind of on point.
Yeah. It was really interesting because they had literally every single thread in the woven lace had literally been picked to its individual thread.
Yep.
So that, and the one was actually in the bow part of where it tied them, and it was the bow. They'd actually done the bow bit and left the end. They'd unthreaded the one on the end, and the other one was unpicked on the actual bow bit, which was really interesting. Karen says the readings were a bit deep tonight. Can't help it, Karen, I just have to say them as it comes out. Yeah, James, he's had his laces messed with again. 2 days ago he got up and, and I've made a point of checking them now when I come in before I go to bed to see what they look like, and then got up the next morning and literally they were still tied. They hadn't been knotted this time, but the one lace on the end, it looked like somebody had been sucking it all night. And the other one had literally been picked to pieces in the bow itself. So the lace was all in individual threads rather than a solid lace. Really interesting that it happened. It was interesting that Andy said keep your eye out for it, being untied, but I just presumed it, it meant the knot, but they literally untied everything, including the lace weaving itself. Stephen says his new headphones has you on the left, Andy, and me on the right.
Oh, okay.
Because for some reason I think mine's broadcasting. I've got it on audio input, so I'm actually coming out. I'm actually coming out through two sources. You should be coming out through one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm only coming out of the right channel because I've got it set up as an external audio input rather than it coming through the Skype one. Yeah, well, this has been even better. Actually, I don't know if I've got them on the WhatsApp. Let me have a look. Just chat a second, Andy, and I'll see if I've got them, and I'll put one of them up on the screen for people to have a look at.
All right, yeah.
If I've still got them, well, I'll just have to. I don't know whether I transferred them onto me WhatsApp or not. Oh, I did, yeah.
Have you got it?
I think I did, or was this when I took them the first time? Yeah, I've got them.
That's good then.
Yes, hang on, I'll just add it to the... I'll add Jason's famous laces to the the stream. Just give me a sec. I'll need to add a new source. So image. Add source. New source. We'll just go to image 1. Browse. I think it was that one. There we go, and it should pop up on the screen at some point, Andy, for people to see.
Yep.
But that was what we woke up to the other morning. Do you know the first thing that went through his, what he started panicking about?
What's that?
That a rat had been in the bedroom and started chewing on his legs.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm like, Jace, the entire room is literally sealed. You know, the skirting boards are solid and the door's closed. But just let me know when it comes up, Andy. But that is basically one of the pictures of his laces, and as you can see,
It's up.
yeah, it's actually unpicked the lace in the bow part itself, and the other one is picked on the end. I actually took them lying in bed. I was lying in bed, and he got up and he said, "Look what they've done! Look what they've done to me." I swear, you can't come anywhere near us at the moment yet, Jamie. Not while the thing's on. And that literally happened overnight while his trainers were right next to the bed. And that. Go on, Andy.
So they're in bedroom here then?
Yeah, right next to the bed where he sleeps. Literally right. He puts them on the floor right next to the bed where he sleeps.
You could do with putting something inside his shoe, you know, like a little chocolate or something.
Mhm.
Just pressing the shoe.
I've no idea what's doing it, James, but I know for a fact it ain't a rat, like Jace panicked about. And Andy's got a theory on it. Do you want to tell him what the theory is, Andy?
So basically, what we read over there, obviously, because we read about the knots that sailors used to tie, certain knots to do certain things with air. You know, it were a bit like magic and invoking elements, but if it's I've got a suspicion that Jace has got some sort of fairy that's trying to connect to it. So what fairies would do back in the day, this is where people used to get the term fairy knots, and they used to tie it in people's hair.
Yeah.
But it didn't have to be hair, it could be like necklaces, jewellery, you know, anything that they can tie up.
Yeah.
So it's my assumption that they're doing is, can I hardly hear Andy? Oh, okay.
Hang on, let me boost you up a bit, Andy. Try that now.
Right, so it's my assumption that the tying knots in his shoelaces as a binding connection thing to them.
Yeah.
And then once it's done, if he accepts it, they'll untie it, and it'll be finished, and it'll have a sort of connection with a particular fairy then, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, even I hadn't had that.
Yeah, but
Becky, you know.
What he does, because he's a lazy get, he pulls his feet out of the shoes at night. He don't even bother to untie them, Andy. He leaves them tied. This is what's really fascinating about it. He don't even bother untying them. He just leaves them in the bows.
Yeah.
And when he gets up the next morning, they are either tied in a knot, or that was the last result of the lace. And both laces were done. But one was the one shoe was done on the end of the lace, and the other one was done in the actual bow itself.
Right.
I've boosted you up a bit sound-wise, so you should be coming through okay now.
Okie dokie.
The reason I've done that is because for some reason, you know, when I've got 4 people on and we get their echo,
Yeah.
your source is the one that seems to be boosting them all through.
Really?
So, yeah, so I have to turn you, it's something to do with Skype. So when we've got 4 of us on, I have to turn your source down because your source boosts through everybody else's anyway.
Right.
So I've whacked you back up now. When there's just the 2 of us, it don't seem to be a problem.
Yeah, it seems alright, doesn't it?
Yeah. But yeah, so you think there's a fairy binding with him?
I do. I think he picked it up from garden.
Do you think so? Do you know what? It's also interesting as well that when he turned that spirit box on at the garden, he immediately got fairy and fairy playing.
Yeah.
As soon as I took the box off him, I never got another mention about fairies.
Yeah.
But he got the fairy and the fairy playing mentioned on the spirit box within, what, 30 seconds of him turning it on?
Yeah, it was pretty quick.
Yeah. And he's adamant he wanted to go in that house as well, Andy, which I found strange.
Yeah.
You know, because he ain't the over-adventurous type and wanting to go into it. And he's still adamant he wants to go in there.
Oh,
you know,
it's available.
Yeah, he's got a real fascination for that house. I don't know why. Give Brett and Andy a like, guys. Okay, Pokes, Cat, I usually change at Leeds, so more than likely cheap. I was talking about trains. But yeah, it's been really interesting about that. I had something happen tonight in the kitchen, literally just before I came on, which was odd. There was a massive crash in the kitchen. The dog started barking, so I said to Andy, hang on a minute, something's just fell over in the kitchen. Went in there and everything's as it should be. So I don't know what caused that, Andy.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. Because I heard bang. I heard bang.
Yeah, and both dogs started barking at it, and it was a proper crash. You know, and there's nothing in the draining board, and there's nothing in the sink sort of thing, and there's nothing on the floor. So whatever it was, I have no idea, but it was a proper crash. And both girls went ballistic at it, so I have no idea what caused that.
Really strange.
But, you know, it looks like it's starting up in the kitchen again. It's always the kitchen with me. I don't know what it is with kitchens. You know, it's always the kitchens. That mimic was always in the kitchen at the old house.
Yeah.
It's always shouted from the kitchen. But, you know, we can get in. But that red light I saw the other week was in the bedroom, and it went across the bedroom ceiling. But that's the only light thing I've seen there. But Jace said did I tell you he'd seen that light again? At his own house.
Oh no.
Apparently he said he came up the stairs and it was hovering in the middle of the wall, and when he went up and looked at it, it darted down and disappeared through the floor like it was running away. Like, you know, once it had been seen, it was like, you've seen me and I'm off now. He says it shot down and went through the floor.
Oh dear. The
But,
characters, aren't they?
yeah, but that was at his own house, so whatever it is, he's definitely following him around.
Yeah.
They ain't having a gravy brew, Becky, you can forget it. Did you manage to get any licorice? Completely forgot to look. I'll get my book now. Why is Cat on about licorice?
I've got no idea.
I don't like licorice. Can't stand the stuff.
I like it, man.
Oh, I hate it. I love them sherbet fountains, but I always pull the stick out and throw them in the bin and just eat the sherbet out the tube. Love sherbet fountains. Actually, I might talk to Jace Nice tomorrow. Oh God, the shop's shut. Shit.
Is it?
Yeah, I don't think they sell them in Tesco's. Brett and Andy, is there any fae that leave? You're best saying Andy and Brett when it's a fae question, because he knows more about them than me. Is there any fae that leave gifts for humans? Because as a kid there was an apple tree with an hole in, and every morning there used to be a little piece of white quartz left in the hole. There you go, Andy.
Yeah, for sure. They can leave you anything. It can usually be something natural. You know, like we tend to. I've got a certain. Well, it's happened to both me and Becky, but we tend to wear coats that have got really like compressed, well secured pockets. You know, for his equipment. And stuff. And we've both had a stone placed in these pockets before, and literally they're them sort with flaps on with studs, you know, where you can't get out in them.
Yeah.
And we've had like certain like size stones placed in these pockets before and stuff, and we'd be like dealing with gnomes and stuff. So yeah, I always save them. You know, I put them in the keepsake box and stuff. But yeah.
But the thing is, Andy, they give them to you for a reason, ain't they? So, you know.
Yeah. You can even apparently make trader items. You know, where they'll physically fetch something.
Right.
You know, and you can give them something back for doing it. It's something we're going to try at some point. Because I've always had the idea of making a nomad and then trying to see if they'll leave me one of theirs in place.
All right.
Because that'd be ace. And then trying to get a photo with the being with our hat on would be absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. The trouble is, what if you retracted something like a red cap?
I'll take it.
Rather than me. Speaking of apple trees, I am currently germinating red apple seeds. I actually had an email off Tracy B the other day, Andy.
Oh yeah.
They're cutting or pruning back one of their bay trees.
Oh yeah. She mentioned it.
But she said she'd asked permission and gifted the tree with oil and wine and some other stuff, which you know, could have sent me the wine. But she's drying out the bay leaves and she's going to send me some, which is rather nice.
Cool. Very cool.
So I'm looking forward to that. But it was nice, you know. I said I'd actually asked permission off the tree and given some back in return. So that was really nice.
It is.
James says, if I kept them, I'm sure I've still got them somewhere. You should keep them, James, because if they're given to you as gifts, you know, they have got significance.
Very much so.
You know, they're not just given to you as a, you know, in an offhand manner. They're given to you for, you know, they've got the significance to them. Have you ever used axe stones, Andy?
Oh, I love them. Yeah, I've got one that we found on beach that's always on my bag, my outing bag.
Yeah.
And then Tracy actually sent me one.
Right.
An absolutely gorgeous one, which I'm gonna put in car. You know, on mirror. Hang it from mirror on car.
And how do you use them? Because you know a lot of people give different significances to them. How do you use yours?
They do. So basically, what I've learned is it won't work unless you activate one. And you've got to activate one around a certain thing. There's a certain phase that can allow you to see more than you would naturally. So if you can find one of these certain phase, activate it around that with its help. Apparently it douses some mystical, magical, fey realm stuff onto it.
Yeah.
And opens the spectrum up.
Right.
So, but there's like little rules to it. So they always say if you kind of like being in between space when you're doing it, do it on a full moon. Right. So you'll get to see them having their festivities more because their attention's on themselves.
Yeah.
You know, so you can peek through it and see them. But there's different factors whether you should use one eye with one eye closed or both eyes open.
Right.
It's whatever works for you in that respect. But there's an actual science behind it.
Right.
So when you create a hole and look through it, what you'll get in your vision of spectrum, you'll get a slightly blurred edge all the way around the circle. Right, and that's replicating the cones and the rods in your eyes, which I always get this mixed up. Becky knows more than me. Sometimes. I think it's the rods, which is the outer rim of your eye, which allows you to see the fae, and that's why we see them out at corner of eye, in peripheral vision.
Do you think that's why a lot of people tend to see what they think is ghosts and stuff as well out of the corner of the rod?
Yeah.
Because it's the actual biological makeup of the eye itself.
Yeah. So basically, the ag is producing a quick, easy cheat.
Right.
Because you can actually train your eyes to do what they do. It's hard, but you can train them. Okay. So yeah, there's an actual science behind the mystical, magical agstone.
Right. Jamie said that you brought her an axe down last time you came over.
I did.
Now, Jamie, that was a mirror. Becky said the last gift you had was a small prickly twig, apparently, from the stone circle in your pocket.
Yep.
That's
straight in there, and it all stuck into my finger.
That's interesting. I think Nikki was above what Kat's just said. Let me read Nikki's first, and then I'll read Kat's. Or did Kat say hers first? Hang on. I hate it when this chat scrolls up so fast. Actually, I'm going to stretch my chat so I can see more of it. Should make life easier. There we go. That's about the Agstone. Nikki asked something, as did... oh, it was Kat first. Kat says she had a visitor in her bedroom the other night.
Lucky you.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly the same thing. I hope he brought protection, Kat.
Midnight visitor.
Yeah. Nikki says, do most of the Fae like us or not?
It's a bit too generalised. Like I always promote, they can read you more than they can read yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So they read your frequency. For example, I could go out into the woods now, right now, this minute, and think, my head's in the right place, I feel good, I'll feel good about getting some interaction.
Yeah.
But there's something there in your subconscious that's eating me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
They'll see it, and if it's something wrong, they'll just walk away.
So
you know.
So you're a strong believer in mindset has a big effect on what you'll see and what you won't see.
Very much so. And you might not even realise you've got a bit of something going on with you, but they will, you know.
Yeah.
And they read it very well. So you are kind of lucky if you do get interaction off them.
Mm-hmm. Nikki wanted to know... Go on, and sorry, I thought you finished one.
No, I was just going to say as well that there's a little experiment we're just going back to Agstone. What I want to bring up, because you might be interested in this.
Mm-hmm.
We're actually going to make, and this has been lent, because they actually use Agstones in Spiderwick Chronicles as well, which is cool.
Yeah.
Obviously whoever wrote that did their history.
Yeah.
And we're actually going to try and make an holder to fit one onto a lens or a camera.
Right.
Yeah, and do some experiments that way.
That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Because the lens works different to the human eye, doesn't it? So it'd be interesting to see what comes through.
See if it picks out up, yeah.
Right, Nikki said Katu visited you and I sat here with bated breath, and thankfully Kat's finally answered. Nikki, it must have been a little person having a right rummage around in my craft stuff. Loads of carrier bags full of stuff in the corner of my bedroom. Could hear it moving all over them.
What time roughly, Kat? Sounds like a brownie to me. They're usually ones that have a good rummage through your stuff.
I thought I was going to say I was rummaging through a knicker drawer or something for a minute. I'll say that would have been Andy looking for accessories for his dress for tonight. James says natural Agstones with the old made in them by nature were prize protective charms, as were empty snail shells and rowan berries. Nikki says a freak out. Why would you freak out, Nikki? See, I love anything like that happening. I've had it happen a couple of times, when I've been in the house and I've heard, like someone rummaging through a bag or something.
Yeah.
Jace always panics and because Jace has got this really bad rat and mice phobia. And oh god, yeah, everything's a rat. The first thing that pops into Jace's head is it must be a rat every time.
Oh, dear.
But I had that a lot at the old house with idea bags and stuff shift at night, but carrier bags and things like that.
Yeah.
Kat says she even called her son in to come listen.
Cool.
Stephen says, Andy, which part of the Fae do the pixies belong to?
Right. There's a bit of discrepancy with pixies. I genuinely believe they are an interbred elf fairy.
Right.
Just because the depictions, they don't quite add up and they're not locked to Cornwall. They're quite prevalent down there, but you do get them nationwide.
Mm-hmm.
probably worldwide as well, because they'll just have a different name in a different country. But I believe they are either a crossbreed or they are something that has got multiple names in different areas.
Mm-hmm.
Like they might have called just the elves pixies, or it's like them ones what we met. They described themselves as pixies, but they called themselves greenies.
Right.
Which there is a bit of information out there that they're either one and the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So there you go, Stephen. Right. Are they linked to the Sealy or the Unseelie, or can they be both? Or are they neutral? Are they uncoated?
Which ones?
Pixies.
Oh, they can be either.
They're either.
Yeah.
Right. Kat says, well, I have some little friends who normally sit in that corner. There's a cupboard there with a shelving unit, and one of them likes to sit on top shelf, but not heard them for a while. Now that's interesting, Andy, because you've said you haven't heard of Stuart for ages. And Tommy's been fairly quiet.
Yeah.
Do you think it's because it's coming up to spring and they're now probably at their busiest period of the year?
It is. They always.
Do you think that might have explained some of it?
I do. They always say spring is notoriously quiet. People would obviously think opposite because nature is waking up, but they've got a job to do.
Yeah. Because it is interesting that, you've reported that stuff's gone quiet, and now Kat's just said the one she has visit her has gone quiet.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, maybe it's because, spring's around the corner and,
that's it.
them busy being nature's little helpers at the moment.
That's it.
Once summer's in full bloom, I suppose, they've got a bit time to have a bit of a rest.
Yeah.
Kat says, well, I had some little friends who normally sit in that corner. I've read that. Nikki says, because I've never experienced anything, Brett, but I've been lately, some strange sounds like running upstairs. They heard it on my life. That's really interesting about stairs, Nikki, because I used to experience that in the house I lived in when I was married. We'd hear footsteps actually going up and down the stairs. And that was the one where the wife said she woke up one night and what she described as 3 little UFOs were circling around the light in the dark. But they were actually glowing, Andy. What she actually described was 3 orbs, and she called them 3 UFOs. And they said they were spinning in a circle round the light fitting on the ceiling.
Right.
But we used to get that a lot in that house was the sound of footsteps up and down the stairs. But that is the house where we had the shadow figure that used to appear regularly on the landing and walk into the bedroom where my son stayed when he came to visit us. Right. But he'd seen it as well, my son. That was quite interesting.
Oh, very cool.
Jamie says, I'd have said a mix of elf and fairy. They have characteristics of both.
Yeah.
Stephen says, most of the songs from Going On Early, Steve Illage, were about nature and fairies and electric gypsies. What the hell are electric gypsies? Can you define electric gypsies for us, Stephen, please?
How does he mean electric?
I don't know. Nikki says she's sensing more now. Nikki, tell Maverick, I meant to answer him the other day and I missed the comment. I didn't see it until I watched the video after that. Can you get some more background off him about that picture? Because it's quite an interesting picture and I'd like to see what else he's got to tell you about that picture. It's actually a picture of Maverick, of a room with a really bright figure in it, Andy.
All right.
And until I've got a bit more background on it, I don't really want to say one way or the other what I think it could be.
Yeah.
James says, last time I went to Cornwall, I got a set of 3 really old pottery pixie heads. They cost me next to nothing from a junk shop and they are beautiful. Are you going to make Andy jealous now?
Yeah, let's be honest, they belong in my collection.
Yeah.
Bex. Sending Bex to the kitchen for a drink.
That's a good idea. Tell her to bring me one as well.
He said bring him one as well. She don't know though. Psychic abilities aren't.
I know.
You know.
I always say this about Jace as well. Maureen says, I always imagine fairies to be female. Are there male fairies as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
I suppose that's the Disney effect coming in again as well in here, Andy, and you know.
Yeah. If you think of them just like us, they're very much alive and they've got to reproduce. You know.
Do they? Have they ever mentioned how they reproduce? Welcome, Saint, by the way. Have they ever mentioned how they reproduce, Andy? Have they ever touched on the subject?
No, well, we've never asked either, but I assume it'd be something similar.
Right,
I assume.
Kat says it was about 5 in the morning, Andy, maybe a bit earlier.
Yeah. Cool.
Nikki says, I've also heard what I thought was my daughter calling me Mum, but no one here could it be that's mimicking. Definitely, Nikki, that is what I experienced in the old house over a period of about 3 or 4 months when Jason was actually calling the dogs into the kitchen when he wasn't there. And I had that happen about 6 or 7 times in that house. It was freaky. To the point that the dogs used to run into the kitchen to greet him because you had to come through my kitchen to get in the house. And, you know, I'd even hear the door open and then he'd do the silly hello thing he does with them, and they'd go running in the kitchen all excited, and I'd sit there for about 30 seconds thinking, what's he doing? Why ain't he coming? And when I went in, there was nobody there and the dogs were just standing there all perplexed in the kitchen. So yeah, that could be mimicking Nikki, because that's definitely what I experienced in the old house, you know, middle of last year, before the that actually occurred before the gravy coffee episode. James says the picture of Mavericks is really interesting. There you go, Maverick says he can provide some more info on that.
Cool.
Jamie says she'll have a Becky tea. On me, I ain't had any tea since December, Jamie. It's depressing. It really is depressing. I'm not sure, but all I can say is check out Gongor, Steve Illich, Fish Rising, or L. I'll say electric gypsies is a term I've never heard, Andy. I don't know about you.
No, Sam, yeah.
See, because a lot of the what I call true Roman gypsies, they're like the Irish, ain't they? They've got very strong belief system surrounding the fae.
Yes.
Very strong belief system. Hi Tara. Andy and Brett, are the fae everywhere, or are there places where they prefer? Are woods and stone circles a good place?
I'm going to say that they're everywhere. But yeah, woodland and old megalithic sites, you know, you're more likely to come across some. But you can just bump into one on your street corner.
Sorry, Andy, go on, carry on.
Nah,
I'm laughing at Maureen's question.
Alright.
Maureen, how do you know the difference between male and female fairies?
Right, okay. So,
I was thinking of the obvious, Andy.
Females will have certain appendages and males will have certain appendages.
Bear in mind, Maureen, a lot of the fae are quite happy to appear naked. So, you know, it can be quite obvious sometimes. Yes, everything's fine, thank you, Tara. Sounds like a rock band. What sounds like a rock band, Sam?
Electric gypsies, I think.
Yeah, it does actually, doesn't it? Electric gypsies. Yeah. I've got to be honest, it's never a term I've heard of. No. But I know proper gypsies, not the ones that most people call gypsies, but true gypsies. I know their faith system, their belief system very much revolves, around the fae and things like that. You know, they're very much nature based.
Vajayjay?
One wine or one vajayjay.
Oh dear.
Stephen says, travelling on the vibration of our minds to connect with the fairies and nature, and with nature. What's your opinion on that, Andy, about the Fae and vibration? Frequency would probably be a better word than vibration.
Yeah. It's very much a big part of it. And I think this is where meditation can come into play really well for it, because I struggle with meditation, I'll be honest.
I do. I'll just think of other things halfway through.
I've got a very busy mind, so it's hard to quieten it. But yeah, it's definitely, but it's not just vibration on one level. Like I've spoke about, I always drop out little secrets all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Every time I'm talking about these things, I always drop out little secrets. People have just got to...
So you've got to digest everything Andy says.
Everything.
Store it away in your heads.
Perfect way to put it into an example is by striking a certain note, right?
Right.
So somebody might go, well, I've raised my vibration in, I don't know, say sound,
Mm-hmm.
I found out what sort of noises they like, for example, a singing bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've attuned myself to a singing bowl, and that's cool. But then you've got to think about colour, vibration, and frequency. You've also got to think about a few more. And once you've struck a note, more like a chord rather than a singular note, you know what I mean? Then you'll be touching closer ground with them.
I could say touching cloth.
That as well, when they come out at blue and you're not expecting it.
Yeah.
I've had a few cloth moments, trust me.
I'll bet. Oh God. Tara Bell says, Andy, I'm proud of you only for standing up the way you did last night.
Oh, thank you, Tara.
There you go. Jamie's off. Have a good night, Jamie. Keep yourself safe and do not go out wandering around visiting people. Oh dear. Saint says he'll be right back. The dog has just pooped in the kitchen floor. Been there, done that, Saint. Not pleasant. I used to have, I'll tell you a really funny story about that, Andy. I met my ex-wife through Shiba Inus, the dogs I've got.
Yeah.
Now, my first dog, Humphrey, was a bugger. He had a very unique way of stamping down property, was his. Oh. And the first time, she'd got a Shiba called Jake, which was a male, and I'd got my Shiba, my first Shiba was called Humphrey.
Yeah.
And then, funnily enough, they were actually half brothers. They'd got the same father, and the mothers were sisters, so they were very closely related. But we'd both got these dogs before we met. But and it was weird how they were both very closely related, the dogs. So she lived in a flat, and I took Humphrey the one day to meet Jake because we were getting closer and closer.
Yeah. And
I took Humphrey in, and Shebas burped and growled at one another for half hour and walked round all stiff and stuff trying to bring it. And in the end, Humphrey decided to do his usual brand of Iron Boss and took a great big dump in the middle of the living room carpet. And just left Jake totally shocked with no response, because how can you be somebody dumping on your carpet?
It's a good job we don't have to do stuff like that.
Yeah, no, he took the biggest dump ever in the middle of the bloody living room carpet. Just to state he was the boss over Jake, and of course Jake, forever after that, Jake just behaved himself because he got no response to it. James says, were the Fae here before humans? Yep. And is there a connection between humans and the Fae? If humans weren't here, would the Fae still inhabit Earth?
Right. So all I've got on this is This is some deep stuff. This.
Yeah.
Right. So, because I do to all you guys what the Fae do to me, which is give me little bits and dregs of information for me to piece together. Right. Have you noticed how I'm becoming them? Slowly but surely, I'm becoming one.
Yeah.
Right. So, obviously, by getting bits and pieces of information in dregs, you can get stuff a little bit wrong. But it's my understanding now, my belief, right? And I'm going to give you it entirely as it is, right?
Okay.
They were here first
Mm-hmm.
because they are the caretakers of this planet.
Yeah.
Yeah? It is my understanding that the soul is the thing that must evolve,
Mm-hmm.
and it is the human soul's task to evolve into one of them. Okay?
Yeah.
So they're on a slightly higher level than us. They're basically the next level to us. This is why there used to be such a closeness between us and them.
Right.
Right? Then you would then move on to an elemental status.
Mm-hmm.
From there.
I'm going to ask you a really weird question in a minute. Go on, carry on.
And then you would bridge into what the Irish used to call the Shining Ones.
Yeah.
And there is like a system of moving up. I don't know much further past that, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
But that is kind of like a soul progression based on reincarnation, which the Fae really do promote.
Mm-hmm.
So there you go. That's my belief system in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So I'm on a pathway trying to carve out, getting myself when I've passed to be one of them.
Andy wants to come back as a gnome.
Well, I can't because they're an elemental. I'd have to run a life of one of the Fae first, which is very interesting. And as we all know,
ain't gnomes got a foot in both doors?
They
am
have.
Elemental.
They have, but it is my...
It's got to be purified.
Yeah, it is my thoughts that you're going to naturally resonate with one certain type, which we do, both of us, and you would probably drop into that category.
Right.
If it was all real, if it were all like that. So,
see, I'd like to come back as a red cap and get revenge on all my enemies. I'd love it.
Well, you better go find him one, aren't you?
Yeah, that'd be my ideal reincarnation, that would. Come back as a red cap and hunt down all my enemies. I couldn't be asked for the castle, I'd just want my enemies. Just before I ask you that question, I'm going to read things.
Yeah.
James says he's had many a pile of cold dog muck squelched between his toes. Been there, done that, James, working in a kennels, believe me. Many times, it's not nice. Eve every time it happened. Right, Andy, here's the question I'm going to ask, and I bet you probably ain't been asked this before. A lot of people believe, and this is going on what you've just said, that the reason the missing link cannot be found is because humans were genetically altered by aliens. Can you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a possibility that it wasn't aliens that interfered with us, it was the Fae?
Right.
Do you believe that's a possibility?
So just run me through that again right quick.
Right. A lot of UFO enthusiasts believe that the reason the missing link between Lucy and modern humans cannot be found, there's that big jump about 4 million years ago where there's nothing in between. Yeah. They believe it was because aliens came to the planet.
Like the astronaut theory.
Yeah, and manipulated the DNA of the Lucy species to form modern man.
Yeah.
Could it be possible that it wasn't aliens that did it, but the Fae in some kind of magical way instead? There's some tinfoil conspiracy theory for you.
It is. This is. Right, I'm only breaching into my own philosophy. I have got no confirmation of any of this because sometimes I'll talk and I've had word from them, which I can always provide. I've got every documented thing I've ever talked to them about. But okay, so this is one of my theories, and this it's a strange one, right?
Cat's going, by the way. I've just typed night to her.
Oh, night
because
cat.
I know there's quite a delay on it at the moment. So
Yeah. So I think there could be a bit of both because I'm starting to now waver on the alien thing, them being a part of their thing, if you will.
Yeah.
Like an elemental, loose term, this. Like an elemental of technology.
Yeah.
Right? And it were a guy who owns one of these odd ranches out in America that put me onto this kind of thought system. And he said, never, ever, and because he says he gets the Fae at this ranch and he gets Bigfoot and he gets the UFO style phenomena and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And he said, don't ever segregate these things up. Right. All they are is to think of it of a scale from one end to the other. He says, and where about in the middle.
Right.
Right. He says, and once you can accept that, everything will come in partnership. And I was like, well, it does lend suggestion because you get Bigfoot with Alien. You get Bigfoot with Fae.
Yeah.
There's big promoters out there on it.
Yeah.
So
see, what's interesting with the UFO theory as well is a lot of them believe that the Bigfoot is actually an alien, an alien race that is sent by another alien race to keep monitor us.
Yeah.
Could that alien race be Fae? Misidentified or elemental misidentified?
And that response I got that time about them being from near space.
Yeah.
I can't help but think maybe that they're all kind of on the same, like I said, scale. It's just that one's over there and one's over there, and they can all commune between them. Because they do say that, if you look at ancient astronaut theory, there is beings that are in ancient times that very muchly sound like the Fae.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then there's these other beings that come to bring technologies. And it's like, what's going on? There might be something to it, but like I said, that is just theories I'm looking at,
Yeah. See, for me, that would make sense, specifically with things like the crystal skulls. Because knowing what you know about the properties of crystal skulls, that would link in nicely with elementals and Faes. Because of the properties of crystals. Rather than alien technology, that would be something more in line with elementals using crystal.
Yeah, it would.
Right, James says, Andy, so when we pass... Oh, this is an interesting question for you, Andy.
Go on, man.
Is it a possibility that the human soul can return as a Fae? He's got to answer this one carefully, James, as Bitsy can say and Bitsy can't.
Yeah, think of it more like your soul will have upgraded to a Fae. Rather than a human. We're not a human soul as such, we are just an energy form that'll be upgraded to one of their life forms, which suggests life after death. The key word in what everybody states is life after death, and for me, life has got to have physicality. It's got to have this physical shell to be alive, if you know what I mean. And especially like an intelligence to it. So yeah, I do believe in life after death, but I believe it's the soul that can. And I'm not. And obviously, if you're coming back here, if you're coming back in human form again, then I think you're misfired and you've got it all to do again. That's it's the wheel, the circle, the constant, cycling. I think that's what it was trying to foretell. It's one of our symbols we're very big on is the snake eating its own tail. The
world serpent.
Yeah, everything's on a constant cycle, if you will. I mean, there's no saying that you can't be downgraded and have to come here and have an experience to learn something as well.
That's interesting how it would all tie in with Buddhism as well.
Yeah,
and there's no religion more spiritually advanced than Buddhism.
Yeah.
On a paranormal level, anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Right, Becky says Andy's going to come back as a brownie and and throw tantrums at the owners for thinking it's a dead person all the time.
I could see it happening.
Yeah, and me.
I do resonate well with brownies as well. It's this thing, innit? Yeah, that's brilliant.
James says, is that a cracking question, Brett? On that thread, is it possible that the Fae were created by aliens as an higher being than man? I'll answer it first and then you can answer it, Andy.
Yeah.
Personally, I think if anything, aliens would be a misidentification of the Fae. I don't think they'd be as a creation of aliens. I think people would mistake the Fae and think they were aliens. Andy?
Yeah, I don't think aliens created them or all like that. As far as I'm aware, the Earth itself created them. Because we've talked about the Gaia theory before, haven't we?
Yeah.
And there's a little offshoot of that now with people like me and Becky that are a bit away with fairies, that the Earth is a fully living not creature, but it's got its own awareness.
Yeah, well, that's basic Gaia theory.
Yeah. But what it did, it segregated portions of energy, multiple millions and millions and millions of energies.
Mm-hmm.
Some started off caretakering for itself, which would be the Fae.
Yeah.
I can't speak for any others, but some landed in this form we're in now to experience itself in a different form.
All right.
That's the
so it's a form of self-learning of the planet, isn't it?
Yes, but it didn't anticipate what we were going to do to it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why, they always say it will rebalance itself and it will wipe out when it needs to. But then to upgrade to caretaker status would be a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it all plugs together as a theory, as a proper theory. And I quite like it. It's really cool.
Mm-hmm. James says, is it possible the Fae and Bigfoot are keepers or elders of nature, guarding and monitoring our planet? I think Andy just answered that for you.
Yeah.
That is basically what the Fae are. They are the caretakers of the planet.
Yeah.
And Bigfoot, a lot of people who believe in the Fae will also tell you that Bigfoot is a member of the Fae or interacts with the Fae. Would you agree with that, Andy?
Yeah. I've seen it. It's quite rife at the minute in the States with Bigfoot hunters.
Mm-hmm. Right. Stephen says it'd be the souls of people we hear through the spirit box. I personally would have to disagree with that statement, Stephen, because I would say we can't be 100% certain what we do. All I can honestly say is the only thing we can say with 100% certainty is we are dealing with something that intelligently responds.
Yeah.
On a belief level, I believe it's a combination of things, but Andy believes it is only the Fae that communicate through the spirit box. So,
and obviously certain other types of beings.
Yeah.
Excuse me. You see, I asked this to one of the large Bigfoot hunters. You were doing a live chat, and I mean, he gets 250 people in these live chats.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually chucked it out there. I said, have you ever taken a sweeping radio that paranormal investigators use out into the woods and try to contact Bigfoot and see if you'll get anything through?
Mm-hmm.
I said, it's just a thought, something for you to try. And I saw him reading me,
Yeah.
And he was reading it, and then he kind of skipped it. Like as if to say, I don't know how to answer that, and I don't know what to do, Yeah. And I thought, well, why not? Give it a go. It could produce some excellent results. because I've not seen any of them try it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they believe that they're interdimensional, so they
Yeah.
might. But
Yeah.
he took a medium out with him that said, "Oh, they're always laughing at you because you're too chatty. You know, you're not concentrating on what they're showing you, and you're just chatting away to people on your live streams.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they laugh at you all the time." So she apparently could understand what feelings
Yeah.
they might actually tell him through messing about with frequencies through a spirit box.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. Food for thought.
Right. James says this is deep tonight. Really great stuff and really interesting. Oh, we can go deeper down the rabbit hole, James. Don't worry about that. we can go right down the rabbit hole if we need to. Maureen says it is James. Tara wants to be a fairy.
Oh.
I don't think you get to pick Tara. They'll send you back as a kobold.
Or a Tommy knocker. Get your
Yeah.
tunnels.
Yeah. Because there's no miners left in the country, you'll be tapping to yourself.
Oh, I've got to say as well, fairies do not bite.
Unless you ask them nicely.
Unless they ask them nicely.
The Saint says, elemental beings like mermaids don't seem to draw people's interest as much as gnomes, etc. I suppose that's true from people who don't really study the fae full time and elementals, but I think for people who do, like Andy and I'm getting, you know, I think they're as interesting as any other type of
course.
Of elemental or fae.
I think what it is with that is the ease of access for communication.
Yeah, because most people are land-based, you know, they ain't going to encounter, unless they're living by the sea, then they may do a bit more, but...
This is it, and I've said to Becky, I said, because I can't swim, I never learned to swim.
No, nor me.
And
this is why I keep away from kelpies.
and you know, going out on a little paddle boat, I'm all fine with, but if you've always got that if something goes wrong.
Yeah, I know exactly, because I can't swim either, and I nearly drowned when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, you know, I've got that double fear there, so... Mind you saying that, Andy, I didn't actually realise I was drowned, and it weren't an horrible experience. I've got to be honest, it weren't an horrible experience.
Right.
I'll be honest, I don't feel like I was dying, I just felt like I was going to sleep.
Right.
But, you know, I can't say I want to do it again, but I have got a fear of water. It's like I say, I love being next to rivers and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't like to be where water meets land. I don't know why it's an in-between. It might be because subconsciously it's an in-between place, I just don't like it.
Are you alright with like tiny little shallow streams?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But, you know, if it starts to come up like above my knees...
Ah, right, yeah.
You know, or once it hits waist, I'd be uncomfortable. That's when I'd start to get uncomfortable. Sam says, I'm nearly sure I got the word grays twice this morning and I'm a pure skeptic. All the aliens are coming for you. It's because you said you don't believe in them the other night, Sam. Yeah, I don't believe the ET found down, but the responses were strange. See, it could be, if aliens are fae and they're coming from inner space rather than outer space, you know, things like strange little greys with big eyes suddenly become plausible. No, you know, because people think all the fae look like Tinkerbell when they don't. You know, strange grey things with big eyes could be quite plausible.
Oh yeah, definitely.
In terms of, you know, if it turns out they are fae or elemental. Hi Jackie, welcome to the chat. You'll probably hear this in about 30 seconds by the way, because we've got really long lag tonight for some reason. Oh, I'm missing some chat, it says scroll down. Tara says doesn't matter, it'll be amazing either way. Not if you're a Tommy knocker, it won't be, Tara. You'll be bored shitless, there'll be nobody to listen to you.
It'd be something I'd like to attempt to try and contact.
Yeah. Andy, after you said it the other night, you know, it was going through my mind, what mines around here, because I'd love to go down one and try and communicate. Because there's a number of collieries around here, we could probably go and see if there's a mine shaft open.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, it will be amazing either way. Hi Jackie, see, There was a programme on TV years ago, Gnomes in the Garden. Oh, I've never seen that one.
No, I haven't.
Jackie says, I thought mermaids were silkies. No, silkies are chickens. Jackie, do you mean selkies? Selkies are a Scottish, they're a more Scottish belief of people who are seals that can take on human form. But mermaids in general, I think they originated from the Caribbean originally, didn't they, Andy? Mermaids.
Yeah, art that way, yeah, definitely, because that's where all artworks and that come from.
Yeah. Selkies are like kelpies. They're water-based fae that can shapeshift into human form. Selkies tend to be Scottish, and they take on seal forms, and then kelpies tend to be more English, apparently, which came as a surprise to me. I thought they'd have been Irish, but apparently they're English in origin, and they turn into horses. But I've never actually read whether selkies are aggressive like kelpies. I don't think they eat people, do they?
No, I think there can be. All water ones seem a little bit aggressive. Yeah. Let's have a quick look up, because it's not one I read up on a lot, or I've done a great deal of research on.
Rod James says, on a different tangent, do you... I'll read you this while you're looking it up, Andy.
Yeah, no worries.
On a different tangent, do you think God was an astronaut? That if he's existed, and what's your thoughts on the ancient astronaut theory? See, it's a difficult one, because I believe in alien. I believe we have been visited by other beings, or we have experienced other beings. So I do believe that there are many. Is it the Drogon tribe? One of the famous ones that have mapped the Sirius. Have got maps of the Sirius system, which isn't visible to the human eye, and wasn't through a telescope until they invented deep space telescopes. So I do believe that God has derived from a being that wasn't human. So whether they've come from outer space or inner space now, knowing what I know after spending too much time with Andy, there's doubt there that there's the possibility there now that they may be they may have come from inner rather than outer space.
So yeah, selkies are apparently right gentle.
Yeah. Kelpies are horrible.
That's the one. Right, what question again with that one? What we're just talking about? I know there were a God terminology in there.
What was the question?
I was trying to find it. On a different note, do you think God was an astronaut?
No, I've just asked you that one. It was before that. Oh, we were talking about... That's what you were looking up, weren't it? Selkies and...
Yeah, that would answer the more gentle than...
Yeah, so what do you think about God?
Oh, God, I use it as a term, but...
I just use it as a swear word normally.
Yeah, same, yeah. Right, I think this has been a major problem for the human race, is gods. In any way, shape or form, I do not believe we were meant to worship anything.
No, I think it's developed more as a psychological thing. The need to have a place in the universe and that kind of thing. I think it's more of a psychological thing than anything else.
Yeah, I think any modern day promotion of worship is seriously needing to reconsider, because obviously it's creating a lot of problems. And from what I can gather, even if you look at ancient astronaut theory, a lot of these beings were coming in partnership. They weren't coming to be praised or be bowed to,
They all. This is one of the theories about how the different great civilizations popped up. There's no history of them ever dominant. There is history of them ruling. There's history in ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia, I think, as well. That there was, and in the not the Incas, the other ones.
Mayans.
The Mayans.
Yeah.
That they interbred with humans. So,
yeah.
they never came to conquer as such. Jackie wants to know if you had any demonic visits overnight.
Oh no, I can't say as we've got any deep red scratches on his backs or out like that, you know.
Nothing growling in the corner of the room?
No growling, no.
Oh, Becky's going to love this one. Maverick says, have you done a video on the Loch Ness Monster? I haven't yet, Maverick, but I have got one planned. I used to be a massive believer in the Loch Ness Monster. I've done a lot of research on the lake itself recently, and it turns out that scientific studies and sonar studies have proven that there are, for the loch size, the fish population in the loch is extremely low. So they think that they estimated there would need to be 23 of them to sustain a viable population permanently in the loch. The only way I think that the Loch Ness could be genuine now is if there is some kind of time warp or wormhole at the bottom of the loch that something from prehistoric time is actually passing through. And that would explain why it's appearing and disappearing. That's my current theory on it. That, you know, it's still a possibility, but I think, you know, the excuse of it being there would possibly be more along the lines of some kind of time slip or wormhole. Andy?
Oh yeah, I think more on that lines. I have done for years. I definitely don't think it's a physical being that's living here today from millions of years ago or out like that. I just don't. And it is a topic I asked them little buggers about at one point, and they actually gave a specific word. And can I, for the life of me, think of what this word is? But it means a nook. It's a weird shaped nook in like what Loch has. It's like an S-shaped bend, like kind of little bit. And they told me to get there to be able to view it.
Okay.
Yeah. And directly across from this, I'll have to try and find out what this word is. I can't remember what years ago we did it. And directly across from this point where they talked about is where that guy is camping out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that were amazing.
On no recent sonars they've done, they've discovered there's even deeper places in the loch than they originally realised. But the thing about the loch itself is, the loch has some very special properties due to its depth and shape, that earthquakes and things like that can cause these, they're like riptide waves that appear on the surface of the loch, and they do look like an humpback being. And I do believe, we know the famous surgeon's photo has now been debunked. We know a couple of the other photos that were considered good proof have been debunked, but there are still photos out there, and one of them was the scan that they did in the 80s. Remember when they sent all the submersibles down there to do the filming? Yeah. And they got what they thought of a flipper. That one still hasn't been disproven. So I still believe there's a possibility there's something in that lake, but I don't believe it's permanently in the lake.
Right.
Or the loch, should we say. But because of the shape of the loch itself, there are some very rare marine phenomena that occur with that loch that don't occur very common, but do with Loch Ness itself, solely because of its shape and depth. But I do know that earthquakes have a profound effect on Loch Ness. I do know that for a fact. Jacqueline says, thanks Brett, I like that they are Scottish. Yeah, Selkies are definitely Scottish. You know, they derive from the Scottish. Oddly enough, a lot of fae that people think are courtesy of the Irish, for example leprechauns, are in fact courtesy of the Scottish. But for some reason they've maintained more of a foothold in Ireland than they, Andy.
Yeah.
You know, the belief in leprechauns is actually of Scottish origin. James says, Saint about mermaids, it's amazing how many people claim to have seen them. Even now there are supposed to be sightings of them, fishermen, people in the Navy. army, they've all claimed to have seen them. Exactly, James, same with the megalodon. You know, there's still viable claims of the megalodons being witnessed in deep seas.
Yeah.
I'm just reading the chat. Streamlabs. I know Becky believes in Nessie. I've always wanted to go as well, Becky. I've always wanted to go to Loch Ness. But yeah, definitely, definitely. I believe, you know, I'm still a believer that there's a possibility something's there, but I personally don't think it's there all the while, Andy.
Yeah, I'm same, yeah.
I think it's either coming through a different reality, or it's coming through some kind of wormhole or time slip. You know, and it's temporarily appearing in the lake, and then, you know, I don't think it's deliberately swimming in and out. I think it's just appearing in a place where the thing passes a lot. Because I know there's a lot of natural channels in the loch, and there's a surprising amount of sunken ships in there as well, believe it or not.
Right.
That they've discovered since they've done all that sonar research. Jackie says she still believes in the Loch Ness Monster, as does Becky. I still believe there's something, but I don't think it's what a lot of people think. You know, there's a research boat, and was scanned a number of times, and they didn't find it, as far as I know. Yeah, Sam, the problem is, because of the actual the shape of the lake, there are a lot of actual ledges in Loch Ness and caves underneath the water, so the sonar won't actually penetrate under the ledges, so it's possible, you know, things could be hiding under the ledges. Do you think the planets and the infinity of space was always here, or do you think something created them? And what do you think was here before the planets and space? I have absolutely no idea what was here before space, but I do believe that the universe is still expanding, and I think they've scientifically proven it. But as for, you know, I wouldn't even like to guess on what was here before or what created it. Andy?
I don't think we'd even have capability to comprehend it.
No, mate.
To be fair.
Right, Saint says, your views. Is Brigadoon a fictional place? My nanny used to say fairies live there. See, now I've always heard it referred to as Tin and Og, or Tin and Og, I think the Irish pronounce it.
Yeah.
Andy?
I've never heard the term.
I've heard the word Brigadoon, but I didn't realise it was associated with the Fae. I've heard the word. Have a Google of it.
I am doing.
Is it Champion? Lake Champion in it. That's got Champ.
Champ.
There's a Canadian version of the lot, and there's actually 2 or 3. There's one in Africa as well that's got a really weird name, like Oogalooga Booga or something like that. I can never remember it, Andy. It's a lot of O's and G's. There's one in Africa as well.
Right. This is interesting. So yeah, it's definitely part of Scottish folklore, but name at Fairy Realm.
Alright. See, I've only ever heard it referred to as Tin and O.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose the Scottish would have their own word for it. And it is a very Scottish sounding word, isn't it? Brigadoon.
Yeah. Alright, so some people reckon it's where the name of Brigid come from, you know, Celtic goddess.
Yeah.
Interesting. There's not a whole lot in for.
There's also one of the Faes called a Brigid as well, isn't it? It was converted. Was it an elemental or a fire Brigid?
I think it was a fair.
I think they were similar to the Spriggan, weren't they? Similar kind of thing. James says he believes in Nessie as well. Yeah, well, Becky actually asked me the other day if we could go to Loch Ness, because I said, you know, I'm quite happy to do any, because Andy's put me on the insurance for his car, so I've said I'm quite happy to do the long distance driving. It's quite interesting going visiting Loch Ness.
Well, it's something not many researchers tend to do, innit? You know, all these types of places. I think it'd be good for us doing some stuff like that.
Yeah, some of the more unusual places, you know, some places are a lot known, but not known, you know, are more known for ghosts or monsters, but are actually got failings to them. Quite interesting, that would.
Sam's off. Good night, Sam.
Good night, Sam. What time is it? Jesus, it's nearly 12 o'clock. I'm impressed, Andy. We've been going for 3 hours.
Have we?
I didn't realise we've been going that long. I bet she's in bed now. Dorothy, we're missing you. Has probably gone to bed. Has probably lost all the points. Deborah says Brigadoon is a musical with a book and lyrics. A place that is idyllic, unaffected by time or remote from reality. The legend of Brigadoon is the story of a mythical village. All right. You get to bed, Sam, and look after yourself.
Yep.
It's the trouble now, you know, they said on the telly today that this lockdown's got no time limit on it, which tells me that it actually has, and it's longer than they want us to know.
Maybe so.
That was the impression I got tonight, Andy, when they said, you know, there's no limit on the length of the lockdown. I thought, yeah, there is. You know exactly how long it's going to be, and you don't want us to know it. Brett and Andy, what's your views on King Arthur and Excalibur, and also Merlin, real or not? I believe Merlin existed. I do believe, you know, I don't think he existed today. I don't think he was the Merlin that the Arthurian legends tell of. I believe he was a druid, and I believe he descended from Taliesin, who was also a famous druid.
Yeah.
Who, you know, but I do believe Merlin was a real person, for I believe he was a very powerful druid. As for the Arthur legends, I believe there probably was a King Arthur, but I think he's been spun up, you know, he's been bigged up
this is it, innit?
By the Hollywood of the time.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Andy Brett, you could visit the Glens of Scotland. Oh, definitely. There's a few places I'd love to go in Scotland with fake connections.
Oh, I definitely.
I need to go back to work. It's morning in Australia. You have a good night, Jack. Oh, good day, actually. You're in Australia, aren't you? You look after yourselves. Right, Andy, I'm going to call this at night because we've been doing 3 hours. Or should we wait until we hit the 12 o'clock mark? We've got 3 minutes. So we'll be on until 12. We've got another 3 minutes, so we've got time for another quick question if you want to ask one.
So get your questions then.
I'm sure James or Saint can come up with one last quick question. You got 3 minutes before we call it a night. I sound like a landlord calling last orders.
Oh dear.
What's your take on Spring Eel Jack? Andy?
I love legend and story on it. Absolutely amazing. As for what he was, I have got no idea. Because, you know, the look of him never really changed, did it? In folk tales or out like that.
No.
But last seen him in Liverpool, hung off a clock tower.
Yep.
In the city centre.
Well, he was grabbing people in London and jumping through the air with them, weren't he?
Yeah. Aye, he was a bit of a pest.
Yeah. You're welcome for the reading, Maverick.
I always, to be honest, I always hoped for an high budget film to be done on it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
I could see it on screen.
There was talks, weren't there, at one point that somebody was going to do a film on Spring Heel Jack, but nothing ever. I think they probably will at some point. You know, because old legends and myths are starting to become popular as film subjects now.
Yeah. I know Stephen King's got a short story in one of his collections of books that's called Strawberry Springs, and that's based on legend. Is it? Yeah. And they always make his stuff into film, so you never know. One day we might get one.
Yeah. James says, Brett and Andy, get yourselves to the Eng and do us a video. Love to.
Oh, yeah. It's on cards, definitely.
Yeah. It's like I said, I've been to the bloody pyramids, and I ain't even been to the Eng in our own country. It's all ever since I was a kid, Andy, ever since I got into the paranormal, it's one place I've always wanted to go to.
Yeah.
And I used to do Windsor Dog Show a lot. You know, I was miles from the place and could never get the time to get away from the dog show to go and visit it, because I'd always got somebody with me who needed to get back and stuff.
Yeah.
Stephen Dennis says, I've been on the train that goes past Loch Ness. Yeah, you can get there by rail. Right, guys, it's 12 o'clock, so we'll call it a night. Thank you, everybody, for coming in. You do make the stream what it is. It's always nice to hear Andy answer your really awkward questions. They're all, it's always entertaining, and I'll learn a lot off everybody who asks, especially because people always pipes up with things I've never heard of, like tonight with electric gypsies and stuff like that. But it always gives you something new to look into, and brigadoo and all that.
It's an education, isn't it? Definitely, yeah.
It's definitely a learning experience both ways. So without you lot, we wouldn't have these streams. Thank you to Andy for being the hostess with the mostess again tonight.
No problems.
So I'll just finish by saying to you all, please stay in your houses unless you've really got to go out for something. Keep yourselves safe and just consider the people around you, because keeping yourself in the house might prevent these deaths from going any higher than they need to. And have a good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, all. See you on Friday. Don't forget, Friday night it's psychic testing. I'm sure you're all looking forward to that. It's your chance to beat Becky and knock the crown off. So see you all soon. Good night, all.
Good night.